and judges.
How about Will Zalatoris, a young Greek professional golfer?
Is that the Beverly Country Club?
How do you not know who Will Zalatoris is? It's sad.
I have no idea.
It's sad. You're living under a rock.
Hitting a little white ball is not my thing.
Why has it got to be white? All right. So the Helene response. Let's begin there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
What the administration is doing about it. Joe Biden, he's still the president, technically. He was asked about it. There's so many storms that he's tracking. It's you got to be more specific, though, when you ask about the response to Helene.
What do the states in the storm zone need, Mr. President?
Okay.
What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone?
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about. They're getting everything they need. They're very happy across the board.
Is that better than you're doing a good job, Brownie? I think so.
They're not only a which storm zone, which is priceless, but they're very happy. They got everything they need. They're very happy.
It's at time like this when I wish I was smoking again so I could have one and just sigh.
Yes. Yes. Well,
Kamala.
The accounts that we have heard, and thankfully people have posted to social media, like that Jonathan Howard yesterday, talking about trying to rescue people and the lack of resources, aerial support to rescue people to get to difficult places.
Good catch yesterday.
The suggestion is that they're not very happy, and the body count is rising. It's over 200. There's the expectation in some of these small towns that were hit with mudslides that unfortunately that body count will grow. Yeah. There are people without power 6 days in,
or
water. And something else, too. This is a little below the fold. We'll get to more important aspects of this, but this is not unimportant. I thought this was fascinating. And now this is in Florida, Pinellas County. And, the focus is understandably on western North Carolina and Tennessee and to some extent Georgia, too. And I understand that. But Pinellas County got hit pretty good, too. That Big Bend area. And I heard from friends that St. Armand Square was hit. Between Sarasota and Longboat Key was hit pretty good. So there are issues all up and down the eastern seaboard. And one of them has to do with something that, is not your first thought, understandably, but it's an important part of the response: cleaning up, getting rid of debris, preventing the spread of mold, preventing the infestation of rats. Listen to this guy who's just posted. He's in the business of renting out bins so people can clean up and then have them picked up and taken to landfills, right?
Yeah.
So listen to what's going on here. And here, again, this is another aspect of the FEMA response. And what we're learning or watching yet again is you can throw FEMA right in there with Secret Service and FBI and DHS and all the other federal agencies that when it's their moment, where they have the con, they're not ready for the responsibility.
3 dump sites set up by FEMA, and they're for resident use only. You cannot go in there with a commercial grade truck. You cannot go in there with a commercial grade trailer. You can't go in there with anything with any lettering on it. And they had asked them, well, what do you suggest that we do with the thousands of bins that we have rented out, full of trash, ready to go to the landfill right now? And they said, dump it back in the people's driveways. FEMA will get around to cleaning up on our own. So he said, what do you mean FEMA's going to clean up? They said, over the course of the next year, FEMA will be picking up all the trash. So in the meantime, over the course of the next year, and this is from personal eyewitness thing, as I was dropping off dump trailers, within 2 days, there's mold inside people's homes. That mold doesn't stop growing just because you take the trash out and you put it at the road. It's going to be growing at the road. Today, when I was driving through Shore Acres down Overlook Drive and Shore Acres Boulevard, there are dozens of rats hopping from pile to pile. It is an absolute breeding ground. And they want all that stuff to sit there for a year while they clean up. We got all the stuff picked up. It's in bins. We're ready to go to the landfill, and they're refusing us at the landfill, and they're suggesting that we take this stuff back and dump it in your yards. We need you to call the city, call the mayor, call FEMA, call the Pinellas County landfill, call Governor Ron DeSantis. Speak up. Otherwise, we're going to be staring at this trash for over a year. That's insane. This isn't about making money. I dropped my prices to help people out. I just want to get St. Pete cleaned back up, and they want it to stay a show. I mean, I really hate to come on here and be acting like conspiracy theorists, but I remember when Katrina happened and people were talking about concentration camps being set up in New Orleans by FEMA. I thought that was crazy. Then we heard about Hawaii getting burned, and because of X and social media, people were actually able to hop on and show what was going on. We saw FEMA step in and do jack crap. I don't know, but we all need to stand up and voice ourselves to get St. Pete cleaned up. Otherwise, we're going to be dealing with a mess for a really long time. So share this video.
Emergency response theater.
It's really not an advertisement for the efficiency of government. Federal government at work.
Emergency response theater. We have control, and they try to crowd out private initiative, and we've got more stories about that coming.
Yeah, beautiful.
But we have control, but we don't have responsibility. Well, you know, if you assume control of the situation, the region, then the responsibility attaches. But I understand it's as we talked about yesterday when Charles Thomas was in. Got a caller, Joe from Skokie. Oh, it's House Republicans' fault for not fully funding FEMA. That's what they're going with, John.
Yeah, well, there's all sorts of nonsense flying, including from that fellow's lips. But in the meantime, what is going on to the people of this country is a realization that the bureaucracy is not working, and the people that they've hired to run these bureaucracies don't know what they're doing.
You mean, I don't know, a sort of a case study comes to mind, like Ali Mayorkas at DHS?
Ali Mayorkas is the high priest of the sin of omission.
Well, here's what Jeff Bezos' doppelganger said 3 months ago.
Let's hear it.
On FEMA. 3 months ago, as you're entering hurricane season. They're on top of it, of course. From the guy who brought you There Is No Border Crisis.
FEMA is tremendously prepared. This is what we do. This is what they do. And the key here, Rebecca, is also to make sure that the communities who are potentially impacted are prepared as well. And it's not just hurricanes and wildfires, also extreme heat, which certainly some parts of the United States are already experiencing.
Mm-hmm. They're poison ready to go 3 months ago.
I heard profanity-laden commentary from a lady named Calliope, so I assume she's Greek, and I put it on my family chat because I couldn't put it out in public, but she was swearing up and down. And I got this feeling that something's switching in this country, that the complacency about the election is now gone. And people are realizing, like my wife who didn't like Trump, now she wants us to donate and give money to the disaster relief to Good Samaritans.
Not Red Cross. Don't give to Red Cross.
No.
That's another story. But if anybody's still under the notion that Red Cross is a disaster relief agency and really provides material support in these instances, as compared to the money they raise off the equity they have in their brand name, you're sorely mistaken. But it is going to take private initiative because, of course, this just out yesterday. FEMA is out of cash.
How did that happen?
Well, I mean, in part, the $1 billion FEMA spent over the last 2 fiscal years in support of the illegal immigrant population. So that's not going to sit well, I don't think, with a lot of people. And this is Mayorkas this week. So 3 months ago, they were prepared, and this is Mayorkas this week.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
We're very prepared. Now we're out of cash. Donald Trump was asked by Fox News' Bill Maloogian to react to that.
I'm sure you saw yesterday, DHS says FEMA doesn't have enough money to last hurricane season. What's your reaction to hearing that?
Well, they're doing a very bad job. They've given over $1 billion to illegal migrants that came in, and now they have no money for North Carolina, for Georgia, for South Carolina, and Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida. I think that's a disgrace. This is a country that's being run by fools.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. Joe, East Dundee.
Hey, Dan. Yeah, so you took the words right out of my mouth. $1 billion for illegals, and you can't take care of your own American people. And boy, there's a whole lot of whoop ass going to be coming from the Jews headed towards Iran, and they deserve everything that you give them.
The Iranians do, you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for the call, Joe. We'll take more of your calls and pick up on this conversation about the Helene response at 5:38. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
It's 5:31 in Chicago. Rain on the way. Already showers falling in Aurora, moving west to east. Hurricane Helene is now the deadliest storm to hit the mainland U.S. since Katrina. President Biden says there's progress, he believes, being made as recovery efforts from Helene continue.
FEMA teams are literally knocking on doors to register folks so they can receive assistance, to buy what they urgently need.
More than half of the deaths were in North Carolina, including dozens in Buncombe County alone. Striking dock workers along the Gulf and East Coast are back at work. Members of the Longshoremen's Association and management groups have reached a tentative deal on wages. The strike began to break down yesterday as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis ordered Florida ports opened to help with emergency response.
But to have this happen in a way that could negatively impact people that are reeling from a Category 4 hurricane, that is just simply unacceptable.
Former President Trump spoke with Fox in Saginaw, Michigan, where he expressed empathy for the union workers, but pointed blame at one person.
They've been treated badly by Biden because of inflation. I mean, they caused inflation, and it killed them. It looks like they're asking for a lot, but they're really not asking for a lot, because when you look at inflation, they end up being a net negative.
Tens of thousands of union members working from Maine to Texas walked off the job on Tuesday morning. Former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney was on the campaign trail with Vice President Kamala Harris.
I tell you, I have never voted for a Democrat, but this year I am proudly casting my vote for Vice President Kamala Harris.
Harris says she appreciates the Cheney support.
Liz Cheney really is a leader who puts country above party and above self, a true patriot, and it is my profound honor to have your support.
The pair stumped in Wisconsin, where many presidential polls show a dogfight down the stretch. The Biden administration can move forward with part of its student loan forgiveness plan. Federal judge in Georgia allowing the temporary restraining order on the plan to expire. The judge ruled that Georgia lacks standing for the moment to sue against that relief plan. A Chicago police officer and teen boy are wounded. Both were shot by the same bullet on the south side. CPD Superintendent Larry Snelling.
They found the individual to be armed with a handgun. As those officers were attempting to recover the handgun from the waistband area in the front of this individual, the weapon inadvertently discharged.
Both were sent to the hospital in good condition. And opponents of a Chinese battery plant located in the south suburbs are not letting up on their efforts to block the project in Manteno. A major roundtable discussion was held yesterday highlighting Goshen's connections to the Chinese Communist Party. Congressman Darren LaHood says China should not be allowed to locate companies in the U.S.
I don't say this to scare people, but China has a plan to replace the United States, and they're working at it every single day. They want to beat us militarily, economically, diplomatically, across the board.
LaHood wrote a letter to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security accusing Goshen of having ties with companies directly linked to slave labor. Chicago sports. College football tomorrow. Northwestern goes for the upset when they host number 23 Indiana. The Illini are off this weekend. The Blackhawks skate against the Wild tonight, coming off a 7-2 road loss to Minnesota. Thursday night football. Kirk Cousins came up big in primetime. Falcons, a 36-30 overtime win over the Buccaneers. The news, a service of Balance of Nature fruits and veggies in a capsule. Save 35% off your first preferred order with promo code Chicago. Order online at balanceofnature.com. Use that coupon code Chicago to save 35%. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
Joe Biden and the American Democrat and the U.S. government right now. That's the enemy of not just the nation of Israel, but of the people in their own country who fight for liberty and a republic. The game isn't about fair. The game isn't about right versus wrong or answers of Americanism versus communism or socialism or Marxism. It's about propaganda, having a full on-out advantage against the rest of us.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Things are changing rapidly in the Middle East. Israel has virtually destroyed Hamas. The campaign against Hezbollah began in earnest with the pager attack. Then we saw the elimination of Hassan Nasrallah and his entire top leadership, along with the destruction of vast amounts of stockpiles of what were supposed to be the A-team of terrorism. Israel is no doubt destroying in a few weeks what Iran has been building for decades. The mullahs in Iran are feeling very threatened. The ballistic missile attack of Tuesday was a move of a weak and desperate regime. After Prime Minister Netanyahu's July visit to Congress and his snub by the possible next president when Kamala Harris skipped it, seems clear that the PM return to Israel resolved to prosecute Israel's seven-front war on his terms, not those of the United States. Whatever Biden and Harris said to Netanyahu in July, unless it was go get him, the Israeli Prime Minister has decided to protect his people. May God give Israel a swift and decisive victory.
I have done in my career literally thousands of joint replacements.
Meet Dr. Mitchell Scheinkupp, National Medical Director at QC Kinetics, an acclaimed orthopedic surgeon who now advises patients try all they can do to avoid the knife and consider regenerative medicine.
I myself was able to continue skiing for 10 years after my knees started to be a problem because I accessed regenerative medicine.
Now, after 20 years of study, research, teaching, publications, and clinical experience, Dr. Scheinkupp is regarded as one of America's true pioneers.
This is the future of medicine.
Dr. Scheinkupp came to QC Kinetics after seeing what they were doing around the country, helping tens of thousands of patients get lasting relief from joint pain with no surgery and no drugs.
QC is so far ahead of the game in its science, its protocols, its people, its facilities.
Call now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Is thinning hair or a receding hairline making you self-conscious? Try Hair Grow from New Nordic. Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start feeling your best with Hair Grow.
5:38, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and this update, a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Check if you qualify, almostfreeteeth.com. Ike outbound jammed up between Wolf Road and the Tri-States. Stevenson inbound 26 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive, slowing up Ashland into the Ryan Merge. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Showers moving through the area right now. Wheaton, Batavia, Aurora, Plainfield, back to Waterman and Rochelle this morning, and they're headed our way. High of 72 for later in the day, clear and 57 overnight. A warm day tomorrow, high 79. Currently 61 at O'Hare, light rain and 61 in Aurora, cloudy in Morris, in Wheeling, and along the lakefront. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and John Cass. JohnCassNews.com in for Amy. He's not just a human being, he's also a website. He's a news outlet. He's a walking news outlet, John Cass.
Your place for common sense. Good cup of Midwestern common sense. $5 a month, $50 a year discounted. Yeah.
We're discussing the federal government's response or lack thereof to the devastation wrought by Hurricane Helene. And I just a quick backtrack. That storm zone comment, Joe Biden, when he's asked what else is needed in the storm zone and what storm are you talking about? I'm so glad that I resisted the calls that were being made by conservatives for Joe Biden to step down after he stepped out of the presidential race. I'm so glad that he's still the president. You know why? Because he is a daily reminder of both Kamala's perfidy and the left's collective disdain for America.
Perfidy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I wanted to get that in because just a reminder, the disgust that this ruling class has for you. In case you were unclear, what storm zone are you talking about? Says the President of the United States against the backdrop of the worst hurricane to hit Appalachia, I think, in American history. Okay, sure. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer and text line. I wanted to get this in. A really good piece, and we were talking about it off air, so let's bring it on the air, John.
Uh-huh.
A good piece by Will Thibault, who is a former Army Ranger, writing in the over at the American Mind. Days after Hurricane Helene, the Biden-Harris administration finally activated up to 1,000 soldiers to support the delivery of food, water, and medicine to isolated communities. But these efforts are too little too late. Compare this to the military's response after Katrina, when thousands of troops were mobilized within 7 hours of receiving orders as the situation spiraled out of control. And he gets very specific here, and this is the value, so listen up. Apparently, it's not worth a call to the soldiers of the 101st Air Assault Division who are 7 hours away. The 2nd Marine Division, which is stationed only a few hours away from Fort Liberty, is standing by. It goes without saying that Fort Liberty's 82nd Airborne Division, located just outside Fayetteville, North Carolina, could send far more help. There's no need to seize an airfield with airborne forces. The security environment is uncertain, with countless reports of looting and violence. The 82nd Airborne serves as America's global response force, largely responsible for the evacuation of Karzai International Airport in Afghanistan, for example, meaning they're extraordinarily well positioned to respond to Hurricane Helene relief efforts in their own state. He goes on to say, a brigade of paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne is always less than 24 hours away from massing combat power anywhere in the world. It is not as if disaster relief is outside the purview of the combat-ready unit like the 82nd. Paratroopers from Fort Liberty joined in Hurricane Andrew relief efforts in 2004, and they patrolled the streets of New Orleans in defense against looting in response to Katrina in 2005. Perhaps more importantly, however, is the 82nd's ability to rapidly establish critical infrastructure in austere environments. American paratroopers could establish fuel depots, field hospitals, dining facilities by the time a reader wakes up tomorrow morning. These activities would support other Americans in dire need, but such awesome power does not seem to be available to taxpayers in North Carolina. A little bit more. Typically, only 1/3 of the 82nd is on recall notice for global contingency operations. That means 2 infantry brigades, significant portions of battlefield support brigades, and tens of thousands of paratroopers are otherwise occupied with training or on leave. A total of 57,000 service members are stationed at Fort Liberty, which is only a few hours away. 1,000 troops, days after Helene hit, will be unable to effectively deal with the devastation. Helene is one of the deadliest hurricanes in the past half century. Hundreds are missing. Thousands require immediate food, water, medical supplies. The American people deserve better than this. And what this Army Ranger Will Tabo is saying is they could have better than this. They've got these military resources hours away who know what to do in a situation just like this.
If the commander-in-chief ordered them, they would be there tomorrow. They would be there today.
What storm zone? Which storm zone are you talking about? Steve, Northwest Indiana.
Oh, you must be talking about Fort Bragg.
Yeah, well, right, yes. Renamed, yes. Right.
Well, I tell you what, when Trump gets back in there, I hope he changes all those names back. Anyways,
Okay.
I was listening to a South Bend station earlier. The woman that was on the air said she has a friend in eastern Tennessee. She says that people are forgetting all about them. They haven't seen anybody. People that are trying to bring stuff in from other counties and other parts of Tennessee are being stopped because FEMA says that only we can do this.
Yeah, right.
Only Alejandro, right.
They're telling helicopter pilots, we're going to pull your licenses if you keep flying stuff in here. You know, I mean, this is evil. It's just pure evil.
Thanks for the call, Steve. Steve brings up a good point. And we know it's happening because people are saying it's happening. Exactly that. Private initiative, private actors trying to help, and they're being stopped. Hey, only us. We have control of the situation. Stay out of our way.
Yeah.
That's not just coming from the bottom up, people experiencing it. It's also coming from the top down. In addition to Ali Mayorkas, P-Butt has chimed in. Your transportation secretary, fresh off of his masterful handling of the train derailment in East Palestine.
That's a macho man if I ever saw one. Yeah.
Our goal is to make sure that funding is no obstacle to very quickly getting people the relief that they need and deserve. There's also some safety issues that come up. For example, temporary flight restrictions to make sure that the airspace is clear for any flights or drone activity that might be involved in helping to allow those emergency responders to do their job.
When do they send in the censors to stop the local newspapers, if there are any, from writing about what they're doing?
And so we don't have the 82nd Airborne,
right?
And you've got former NASCAR drivers like Greg Biffle flying his own chopper to pick people up, which is great. I mean, it's heroic, good for him. But I mean, if you saw the story about the guy who was seen because he was using a mirror to reflect light towards the sky when he saw a plane, that was Greg Biffle's plane, and he helped him, helicopter actually, and he rescued that guy. And we brought you that Jonathan Howard yesterday trying to do the same thing. Corey Mills, the congressman from Florida, he's out there trying to do the same thing. Also, interestingly, in addition to the temporary restricted airspace, Corey Mills talking about the photo op that Biden did down there delayed the air response 4 hours because you had restricted airspace for everything but the president. So that may have been unhelpful. That's not the photo op is not the highest priority.
I guess the question, though, Dan, is will the American people know what's going on, or will the media tell the story or not? Because I don't see them, if they've holding to their pattern of censorship and suppression, I don't see them wanting to tell this story much.
Well, they're going to minimize it as much as they can. They're going to try to extol the virtues of the response, and I'm sure they'll try to find people that will say on camera, "Thank you, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, for saving me."
Yeah,
Joe Biden. I'm sure they'll try, but I think it's going to be increasingly difficult. But again, right? A lot of people are siloed off, and they only consume what they're fed by the D.C. press corps. So I understand that remains a problem here.
But the days of taking the crap from them, from that side, is done. In my house, it's over. She sees this when she heard that only $750 to people who play by the rules, people who aren't on welfare lines, people who don't ask for handouts as a regular practice, as a buy-off for their vote. These people should be getting more and at least attention from the government, and they're not getting it. And she's upset, and I'm glad that my wife is upset, but more people have to be upset.
Jim and Lyle.
Good morning, gentlemen. So I wanted to amplify what John just said about people waking up to this dystopian dynasty that we're living in. Last Friday, I was walking precincts for Trump and Brian Steele and Eric Hovde in Beloit, Wisconsin. And as I'm walking up to this man's driveway, he's working in the garage. He sees me. He sees that I have some kind of campaign literature in my hand.
Right.
And without prompting says, I'm voting for law and order. Enough. So I think there might be something to what John is saying.
Thanks for the call, Jim. Corey Woodlawn.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. Good morning, Cass.
Hey.
Two quick statements. There was a situation where Nancy Pelosi constantly threatened Trump if he used funds that have been slated for other things, she was going to press for misappropriation of funds. Mayorkas just got on TV and basically said he misappropriated funds by moving the money towards the migrants. To me, there should be a red flag. Someone should prosecute this individual because she threatened Trump with it. Mayorkas is fair game. The next quick statement, Cash, you asked me a little while ago that I think that the issue with African Americans being upset about the migrants would hold. I think it's holding and it's going further. That acrimony was already there. Willie Wilson said that when he ran for mayor. I'm going to give my votes to Chuy Garcia, but I don't know if the black community would. There was already an underbelly of disassociation with people coming from other countries into our nation, and now it's just gotten way out of control.
It started happening in force when Rahm Emanuel started getting it from the black community in Chicago when he was pushing that ridiculous voter ID or ID for legal aliens. Remember that? And he was talking about pushing that one, and people didn't like that because people don't like to be told to step back, get in line, get in the back of the bus in your own country. They don't like that. And you'd think that the Democrats would have learned something from that period. But apparently, Corey, they have not.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Why does Corey get to call you Cass and I have to call you Mr. Cass, by the way?
I don't know. Why does he call me John, man?
I like Cass. I think that's a sign of respect, like your street. He just uses your last name.
Yeah.
He uses your street name.
Yeah, that's me, real street.
Yeah. Tom and Oswego.
All right.
Good morning, Dan and John.
Hey.
I'd like to echo what you said about the 82nd Airborne. I own property in Butler, Tennessee, which is in the northeast corner. We have it up on a hill about 3,000 feet up by a lake. I talked with a lady yesterday who works for a developer up there who owns a lot of properties in North Carolina, developing some of our properties. And she said that she heard, and these people are well versed down there, the 82nd Airborne was told to stand down. Now, I don't know if they've already been released, but why weren't they prepared days before this happened? Even if they didn't need them, no problem. Now, the other issue is with the helicopters. The gentleman who's developing these properties has his own helicopter. He is right now, as we speak, because I talk with these people, using his own helicopter to drop stuff up in to the people in the mountains there. Because I'll tell you, some of those roads, just to get to our property, is very difficult. I don't even know if I can get to it. Well, I'm not going to, but I don't know if the roads are even there. And this didn't just impact North Carolina, like they said, Tennessee, all the way to Elizabethton, which is, again, south of Bristol. It floods. Watauga Lake, which is a man-made lake, they're letting water out of the lake over the dams because it's just cresting so high. This is a disaster that was, I say, predictable. But as soon as they saw it developing in the Gulf, why didn't these morons in government get together and say, hey, we need to be prepared? Dan and John, you know what? I own a roofing company here, and I have for 30 years. if I see storms coming, I don't know how severe they are, but if I see them coming from the west and they're going to hit in the areas that I'm working in, you better believe I'm getting prepared for those storms a day ahead. Why can't, I don't know, it just frustrates me so much that so little is being done. And I hope that all the voters out there see this. Just see this is what your government is providing. You want to turn to the government for every little help?
Yeah.
Good luck, because this is what you're going to get.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for the call, Tom. That should definitely be one of the takeaways. And the issue of private initiative, again, just since he brought it up. By the way, one thing is the preparation Tom talked about, but the other thing that Will Thibault, this Army Ranger, is saying is even if you weren't prepared, even if you caught these guys flat-footed, they can be there in a blink of an eye and ready to go.
The whole crew.
There's no there's no defense. It wouldn't seem. But the problem too, and this goes back to what P-Butt said, and what other people are hearing, that the gentleman from Tennessee, or talking about his friend in Tennessee that called. This pilot from Banner Elk, North Carolina, former head of the Chesterfield County Sheriff's Office Narcotics Unit. So, I mean, this is law enforcement background. He and his son, who both have 1,400 hours in this chopper they fly, they're flying around. They're taking calls. They're flying around helping people. In one instance, there's the long write-up in this in QC News, which I'll post because it's an incredible story, just in terms of the worrying about fiefdoms rather than the objective here to help people and to save people. So they get a call about a couple that's stranded. They get to the couple. The father tells the kid, this guy's name is Jason Seedholm, I think, or Jordan Seedholm. Father tells the kid, hey, I want you to let me get in. You step out, go out, help her, woman, put her bag in, get her strapped in. I'm going to take her down, come back, and then I'll take him, and then I'll come back and I'll get you, because he was concerned about weight.
Yeah.
Right. He left his son and the woman's husband to make the 3-minute flight to a group of first responders positioned along the river below this mountain. He and his son loaded the woman in the chopper. Senior told his son to stay put. He'd be right back to get the husband. I originally left my son, my co-pilot, on the side of the mountain. It was kind of unstable, so I didn't want to put more weight on the helicopter to lift back off. So I left my son and the other victim. It's going to take one person down at a time. He lands in a parking lot near a bridge where he spotted a group of first responders. Once we landed where emergency personnel were, I was met by a fire chief, or maybe captain, and he asked me who I was. I told him who I was with, just a local volunteer. Mm-hmm. I told him my background, experience, law enforcement, firefighting, blah, blah, blah. In the middle of the whole conversation with this guy and them blocking the road off, I was greeted by the Lake Lurie fire chief or assistant chief, and he shut down the whole operation.
Say again?
He shut down the whole operation. And he then, this Seedhorn goes on to explain to him who he is, what he's doing, what the situation is. He's got his son on the side of the mountain with another victim he's trying to rescue. He said, if you go up there, I'm going to arrest you.
Oh, okay.
We're in charge. You're not in charge. You cannot do that. And he said, like, I explained to him, I left my son on the side of the mountain. I left another victim. I'm going to go back and bring them. It was already set up for the landing spot. I would get out of the area. He told me I wasn't going to go up that mountain to get them. I was going to leave them there. They'll get to him when they get to him. You're interfering with my operation, is the reason the official said. So ultimately, I mean, just to cut it short, right. He got his son back, but he left the husband of the woman that he rescued because he was afraid of being arrested. He's got his son with him. This is the kind of insanity that's going on. It's the kind of insanity that's going on because you have this chaos and, you know, people are pretending to be in charge, Al Haig style, but you don't have the sort of coordinated response that the situation demands.
In panic and pressure, the tendency of bureaucrats is to get bitchier than ever, and that's the danger.
Right, reassert their authority.
Yeah, you have to chill out. Everyone take a deep breath and figure out what the job is. Like, send troops up there, get search dogs up there, they can't find their way through the bush without search dogs, and have that going immediately.
All right, we'll take more of your calls, and we'll continue with this discussion because there's more to get to with respect to the response to Helene. We'll do that at 6:06. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
The very latest on that response in the Southeast and the end of a longshoremen's strike. Fox News with the very latest next. WIND Chicago News Time, 6.
It's now up to at least 220 people dead, a week after Hurricane Helene first hit. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
The devastation here is truly heartbreaking.
Fox Weather's Jane Menards in Boone, North Carolina, one of many places inundated by flooding.
The overall pulse of what I've been able to gather here on the ground, especially in these local communities, these rural areas, is that they haven't felt much help from the state just yet. It has truly been neighbors helping neighbors.
President Biden went to Florida and Georgia, where there's also devastation.
FEMA teams are literally knocking on doors to register folks so they can receive assistance, to buy what they urgently need.
Former President Trump is critical of the federal response. He'll go to Georgia and North Carolina today after a rally in Michigan saying if he's elected again,
we will cut energy and electricity prices in half within 12 months.
In Wisconsin, an anti-Trump Republican who used to be in Congress endorsed Vice President Harris.
Liz Cheney really is a leader who puts country above party and above self, a true patriot.
Former President Trump reacted, telling Fox Cheney is a stupid war hawk. Iran's foreign minister's gone to Beirut as Israeli airstrikes keep hitting Lebanon, targeting Iran-backed Hezbollah. And Fox's Nate Foy reports from Tel Aviv.
As we await Israel's response to Iran's massive ballistic missile attack, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei delivered a rare Friday sermon in which he called that attack on Tuesday a legitimate act, but even more notable, he called Hamas's atrocities from October 7th also a legitimate act.
The dock workers' strike is over after 3 days. They're back on the job this morning at ports from Maine to Texas after a tentative agreement that'll lead to more negotiating.
As part of the conditional offer, the ports proposed a 62% wage hike over 6 years. If a deal isn't reached within 90 days, though, the proposed increase is off the table.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. America's listening to Fox News.
Light rain showers in the area, 61 degrees. At 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A Chicago police officer and teen boy wounded. Both were shot by the same bullet on the south side. CPD Superintendent Larry Snelling says officers were conducting an investigatory stop yesterday of a 16-year-old in the 5600 block of South Shields when they attempted to grab for a gun in the teen's waistband.
They found the individual to be armed with a handgun. As those officers were attempting to recover the handgun from the waistband area in the front of this individual, the weapon inadvertently discharged.
Both were sent to the hospital in good condition. Opponents of a Chinese battery plant in the south suburbs are not letting up on their efforts to block the project in Manteno. Roundtable discussion was held yesterday, highlighting Goshen's connections to the Chinese Communist Party. State Representative Dan Calkins has been a vocal critic of taxpayer subsidies awarded by Governor Pritzker to Goshen.
This is a bad deal for Illinois taxpayers. Anything Congress can do to help us get this deal rescinded would be greatly appreciated. We shouldn't be playing venture capitalists with taxpayer money.
In other news we're following, a Cook County judge is issuing a warning to embattled Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who appeared in court yesterday over so-called illegal appointments she made for several positions in the village. The judge last week granted a temporary restraining order forbidding Henyard from making several appointments. An attorney representing multiple trustees asked the judge to hold Henyard in contempt of court for not following the order. The judge said no, but warned the mayor that he will fine her in contempt if she fails to comply with that ruling. Bears aim to get back above 500 when they host Carolina at Soldier Field Sunday. Tomorrow, Northwestern goes for the upset when they host number 23 Indiana. Bulls adding to their preseason roster, signing Josh Primo to training camp contract yesterday. The news service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr. now heard Sunday morning at 6:30 right here on AM 560, The Answer. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago, Saturday, November 2nd at the Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Sebastian Gorka, economist Stephen Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates and by Valdecas Incorporated Windows and Doors.
Exercise and a healthy diet can help, but that can be hard, especially as we start to get older. It's like the choice between taking the stairs or waiting for the elevator. Sometimes the easier option can be tempting. But just like choosing to take the stairs, you can choose to get a variety of 31 whole fruit and vegetable ingredients. Balance of Nature supplements are formulated from the best ingredients available, and it's as easy as taking 3 fruits and 3 veggies capsules every day. It's a small commitment, but it can help you feel your best. Start your journey with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
You know, the big wireless companies want you to overpay for data that you don't need, but you don't have to settle for that with Pure Talk. Well, you get to choose how much data that you actually want. And for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, unlimited text. You're going to get mobile hotspot, 5 gigs of data. Go with Pure Talk, and you get to choose how much data you actually want. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and if you do it now, you'll save an additional 50% off your first month from Pure Talk. NYPD officer Jonathan Diller's tragic story made national headlines this year. Now, Jonathan was shot and killed by a career criminal during a traffic stop. Jonathan, who's just 31 years old, leaves behind his wife Stephanie and 1-year-old son Ryan. Now, nothing will ever replace the loss of a husband and a father, but the Tunnel to Towers Foundation was able to pay off the mortgage on the Diller family's home. Please commit to $11 a month. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
6:08, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. This update, a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 516 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or 855-563-2843. Lower.com, equal housing lender. NMLS 1124061. Eden's right now at 21 Lake Cook Road to the junction, the Kennedy. Stop and go outbound, Canfield out to I-190. 37 on the Eichen from 390 to the old post office with an accident inbound at Damon. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
A shower in the area this morning early, otherwise clouds and sun. The high today 72, clear tonight low 57. Sunny, breezy, and a bit warmer tomorrow, the high 79. Partly to mostly sunny, pleasant day on Sunday, the high 73. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Light rain crossing the area 61. Your next news update is 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning is John Cass, johncassnews.com.
We always get a good cup of Midwestern common sense. Come on, people, start subscribing. I need your help.
Yes.
I can't do this for free. I'm not like a rich golfer or something.
Yeah, it's not like you're the head of the Longshoremen's Union. I get it. You don't have the Bentley or the 76-foot yacht yet. You need a few more subscribers.
Right.
Well, we're talking about the response to Helene and really still trying to get our arms around how catastrophic it's going to be in terms of both the cost of human lives as well as the devastation to these communities throughout the, across the Eastern Seaboard. And taking some of your calls, too. Let's get a few people in on the conversation. Jordan and Antioch, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. We can talk about all the responses and all the stories and everything, and that's great, but I hope it's not lost on everybody that if it weren't for the guy who would be arrested in Europe for putting out this information and giving these people a voice, you would not hear these people's stories. They would have no voice, and they would have no voice because the administration in charge right now would be throttling him, silencing him, and claiming it as misinformation. And all you would hear is the bilge that came from that turd yesterday on the phone about how this is because FEMA doesn't have enough money.
Yeah,
you
right.
wouldn't hear that FEMA wasted the money on the illegals. You wouldn't hear any of that, and they don't have any money to respond to that. You wouldn't hear about the frauds and the failures that are running the FEMA, the fake it till you make it, DEI hires who have no clue what to do when they get on the ground. You would not hear any of this if Kamala gets in. You're not going to hear any of this because it will be throttled, it will be shut down, and the only thing, like I said, the only thing, and Dan, you pointed out yesterday, the only thing you're going to hear is just that sewage that pours out of that guy that blames this on the Republicans pointing out Joe and Jill's failed attempt at parenting rather than funding FEMA.
Well, right.
So so just I hope it's not lost on everybody. While we're dealing with this tragedy and we're listening to this, you would never know any of this. You would never hear any of these stories because the ones that are failing these people would shut that down so you never heard it because they don't want you to point out the failures. They cannot live in the light. So
thanks for the call, Jordan. Appreciate it.
So
well,
know that and believe it and repeat it. Thanks, Jordan.
Well, I mean, this is another example of something you see repeated all the time when it comes to these bureaucracies and the politicians, which is the last people who are responsible for whatever occurs are the people who are actually in charge. Right? Yeah. Biden is the president. Kamala is the vice president. It's their cabinet. It's their agency directors. They're not responsible. They're the last people responsible. Some MAGA Republicans are responsible, milling about the House. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The people in charge are never responsible when things go bad on the left's watch. I got it.
If it wasn't for the Chewbacca guy, we would have a good response.
It's Chicago, right? Yeah. Chicago has and Cook County have been lorded over, Chicago specifically, lorded over by Democrats for 100 years. That party's not responsible for what Chicago's become.
They're not responsible for the bodies piling up in Brandon Johnson's lap.
No, Donald Trump's responsible for that. Right-wing extremists are responsible for that.
I'm responsible.
The mass exodus from Illinois, what Illinois has become?
Carnival Barker, Dan.
That's not the responsibility of the Combine, to borrow a John Cassism.
Oh, thank you.
The Democrats and Republicans over the years that were the party of government, both of them, And now there's just one. The Republican Party doesn't even exist. We'll get to that maybe in a little bit later. But they're never responsible because they have boogeymen to use. And the boogeyman is almost invariably people who are not acolytes of the government because they're the party of government. They want to stay in their sinecures. They want to grow their footprints. And so whoever is critical of the government, they're the responsible party. They're getting in the way of the government doing the good work the government does. That's what you're supposed to believe.
Get off this mountain, cut off your search, or I will have you arrested. Yeah.
Just sharing these stories, it's so great that, first of all, it's heartening that there are so many Americans out there willing to make sacrifices to help other Americans in need. I'm talking about even at the individual level, in addition to the organizational level. This father-son team that was flying a helicopter in North Carolina, we talked about just before the break. Congressman Corey Mills, the NASCAR driver Greg Biffle, just the guy that talked about the bins that FEMA won't let them dump, and so the debris is piling up, and it creates all sorts of long-term problems. You're supposed to just sit back and not help residents clean up. FEMA will get around to cleaning up the debris in and around your house, or the debris that is your house, when they get around to it. It's astounding. Here's another one. This guy named Ryan Tyre. If you're wondering why citizens are being turned away that are coming to help in North Carolina, Tennessee, you'll want to hear my experience as someone who has been doing this as a private citizen for almost a decade. I was able to get in and out of Asheville. We brought food, water, fuel, and other supplies as we help people affected by the floods. But there are reasons why they are not allowing outside help. I cannot confirm the reasons why in North Carolina, but I can tell you the reasons in other storms I have worked, and he explains below. What he finally realized is that disaster relief is all about the money. No. Not on the private side. On the government side. It's counterintuitive, but listen to what he has to say. And he talks about hurricane. I think he was talking about, I can't remember which Florida hurricane, but the Florida hurricane that hit the Keys. Irma. Yeah, Irma. Anyway, so he's down in the Keys trying to help people. Back a few years ago when Irma hit. The Keys were all in despair. They had just seen overwhelming support for Texas with Hurricane Harvey in Houston by the citizens of the country, and they felt down there like they had been forgotten because 5 days after landfall, all they had seen was FEMA, and FEMA was of no help. Familiar story. Sort of like the Secret Service. The incompetence of the Secret Service well predates these failed assassination attempts on Trump. In fact, their incompetence opened the door for such possibilities. It was the lead-in because of this culture within Secret Service. Well, so we have the same thing with FEMA. We have the same thing in just about every federal agency. Pick one, anyone. The only communications that residents of the Keys after Irma had 5 or 6 days in, as Ryan Tyre reports, was local radio station that was broadcasting on AM to the surrounding Keys. The value of AM radio. And so on. It goes on to provide some more detail. We finally were able to talk to authorities to let us down to a resort in Marathon. And this was the same hotel where state and local authorities were staging their personnel. They were happy to see us. I was able to coordinate several trucks full of supplies to be brought down to the staging area. I was privy to an emergency response meeting, but was informed in that meeting that all of the semi-trucks full of food, water, and hygiene supplies were to be turned around and not allowed to be offloaded for distribution by emergency workers. Why? Because the donations were not from companies on the preferred vendors list of the government.
What?
The donations were not from companies on the government's preferred vendors list, and that they would not accept them or give them to residents of the Keys impacted by the storm. It was at this point I realized this is all about the money. But wait, I thought, John, that it was just private people who are greedy. The government is selfless and Munificent. They aren't interested in filthy money. Turning supplies away to hurricane victims, and this could very well be happening now. Probably is. Why would it have changed?
Dan, I'm starting to think some dangerous, violent thoughts right now.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm an old man with a cane, because you feel like grabbing them and pulling them out of their homes
and giving them the Nick Leeson treatment. Remember him, Nick Leeson?
No.
Singapore.
Oh yeah, cane.
The caning. Wasn't it Nick Leeson? Is that right?
I was thinking more of like a 9mm, but yeah.
Well, no, jeez.
Stop me.
You're just saying the metaphorical 9mm, meaning his rapier wit.
Yeah.
Mike in the Loop, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
You know, the sad part about this $750 deal for these poor souls down there is they're eventually going to come after us for more money. The government is, because they're going to scream climate change, right? And they're going to come after them for the money as well, because they're taxpayers.
Right. Thanks for the call, Mike. Carol in Moments.
Hi, good morning, Dan and John. You know, I did call Robin Kelly's office yesterday, and I related pretty much what you've been saying, the 750, and I said, this money, every migrant, legal and illegal, that come in here, they get a charge card with $5,000 loaded onto it. They get a cell phone. They get housing allowances. They get airline tickets. And we get $750 for these poor souls there. And what I've been hearing, what you're talking about, awful. They won't even let supplies come in. They won't let people help that are perfectly capable of doing this. This is disgraceful. There's so much anger here. I don't know what to. Please keep talking about it so that it gets out. Thank you. That's my comment.
Thanks for the call, Carol. Appreciate it.
Carol, Dan's here to hold me back because I'm losing it.
Well, and you know, and again, I mean,
I don't want to kill anyone, but I'm mad.
I know. Understandably, there's rank order priority here. Of course, the first is the search and save mission, and then it's then you get to the cleanup and the economic damage, I feel bad for all these people that are going to be dealing with like what I dealt with at a very smaller scale after Ian hit Florida 2 years ago, which is not then you're going to deal if your house was just damaged or even if it was totaled. Now you're dealing probably most people are insured. I doubt certainly not as many people self-insured there as in Southwest Florida, and dealing with the insurance companies, particularly these insurance companies that offer FEMA-backed policies. It's brutal. And so you're going to have a lot of people that are, that even if they were lucky enough to survive, they're going to be hit financially in ways that will take them a long time to recover. So this is, there's a lot here. And
well, whenever you're dealing with storms and dampness and wet and garbage and rats and disease, the pain is overwhelming. It's got to be overwhelming.
Yeah, and the response needs to be rapid and professional.
Yes.
Bill in LaSalle County.
Hi, thanks for taking my call, Dan. Good morning, John.
Hey.
I think one of the big reasons is you don't have a fast response. These are all Republican voters, and they want chaos to continue in these areas, also all the way through elections, so that these people can't vote.
I don't want to believe that.
Thanks for the call, Bill.
Bill, I'm starting to believe that now. I didn't want to at first.
Well, Brett Baer went through the numbers. We brought them to you yesterday. It was a good distillation of the counties that have been declared disaster areas. There's about 60 of them, and Trump enjoys about a 200,000 vote advantage among those 60 counties spread across just North Carolina and Georgia. That's a big number in states that were very close in 2020 and expect to be very close this time around. So, hopefully that local officials are going to make whatever provisions are necessary. I suspect you will have a pretty motivated group of people in those affected areas based on the government's response. I certainly hope so.
Are you
but
seeing
it's something that has to be tracked, and this is the responsibility of the Republican Party and the Trump campaign to make sure that local election officials are doing whatever is required to make sure people are not additionally injured by having their franchise interrupted.
Are you seeing any evidence of Republican pressure on this score these issues? Because I want to see that. That's the for me. That's the next step, to see where are the ad spots, commercials, where are the targets, and how are they getting out there? Because people who have lost everything, they don't have TVs up there. How are they going to? What, everything's going to be on TikTok?
You mean messaging?
Yes, sir.
Messaging about the federal response, or messaging about voting?
Messaging about the poor federal response to this.
Yeah, well, this is an issue. I mean, just as Katrina was not limited to Louisiana and Mississippi, a federal response to something like this becomes a national story, and it's a national story, so it has impact across the nation. You're going to see messaging on this. Not yet, I haven't, but you're going to see it. Dan and Glen Ellen.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Hey.
Good morning. I've been doing public work for 30 years, and I've been preaching as loud as I can the last 5-6 years of the incompetence in the public sector. I think it's generational. I don't know what happened, but it's gotten so bad that none of this surprises me whatsoever, because if it's here, it's at the federal level. It's just a culture of there's no accountability, no ambition, no care. Everyone just watches their clock for the retirement, and it's staggering. It's absolutely staggering.
Thanks for the call, Dan.
In Chicago, there were people, and then Dan and I have both reviled them, like people like Burke and Madigan, especially Madigan. But when his community, when his neighborhood, when his ward was affected by storms, I mean, nothing like Katrina, but he had tree trimmers out. He had service being done immediately, so that people could see, this is what my vote is going for. This is what I'm paying for with my vote and my taxes. I don't think there's any pressure on Biden to do the same. And I don't know why.
Greg and Schaumburg.
Hope the Republicans cut a 30-second commercial where Trump just picks up the phone calls, Elon gets Starlink up and going, and those people had communications. That should be the final comment on this entire election. Hi, John. Thanks so much.
Greg.
Take care.
Thanks, Greg. Well, speaking of Elon and Starlink, Trump is going to be in Butler, Pennsylvania tomorrow, his triumphant return, MacArthur style. You think this will be a topic of conversation? I suspect it will be. And guess who is going to be in tow at Butler?
Who?
Elon Musk.
Perfect.
So that's going to be very interesting. The commentary from both of them on this pressing topic. I'm hesitant to play this, but I think people should hear it if you haven't, for a lot of reasons. And this is not necessary. I'm not trying to attribute this tragedy to the government. In this case, there's no sort of nexus that's been established. But it's just what we're talking about human beings that back row Americans, as Chris Arnatti likes to call them, that just don't get the time of day from their government. That just do not get the time of day from their government, from the political ruling classes that exist at both federal and state levels, even in red states like Georgia, North Carolina, which is more purple these days. The death of 7-year-old Micah Dry and his grandparents, who he was stranded on a rooftop with. His mom spoke to the local Fox affiliate about it.
I'm so proud of my son because in his last moments, he wasn't screaming for me. He was screaming, Jesus, Jesus, save me. Jesus, I hear you. Jesus, I'm calling upon you. And his wildest dreams and everything that he wanted to be was a superhero. And that was his goal in life. And instead, he's my hero because he reached for something past flesh, past human, past anything that even grown adults, I think, would reach for. My son called out to the one God Almighty. And I think at that moment he was rescued and he became my hero. And I think all of them carried me through that moment. I think that his biggest dreams, he was the smartest, bravest, hopeful, great friend, great son. I couldn't have asked for a better son. And he was so happy up until the very end when he was screaming for Jesus. And in that moment, I think he found joy.
The innocence of children is actually quite spectacular. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it is. Marissa being a mother too, Megan and Heather, I do, amidst the tragedy, your parents as well, Jessica included.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered today?
Hi, I'm trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for my boss. Can you deliver a hard drive to the Loop in Chicago?
We can deliver that today.
Okay. Can you deliver 20 boxes to a client in Rockford?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver 12 pallets of tile to our customer in Naperville?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver a large envelope to Northbrook?
We can deliver that today.
Oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. Can you?
We cannot deliver that.
Quick Delivery Service delivers your package no matter the size. More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or your air shipment. Trucks are equipped to handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 6:36, the port workers' strike is apparently short-lived and over. Great news for Harold Daggett. He can get back to his yacht and his Bentley. We'll discuss 6:36. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
6:32 on AM 560, The Answer, and officials say the death toll from Hurricane Helene has surpassed the 200 mark, and the number will likely rise. More than half of the deaths in North Carolina, including at least 72 in the Buncombe County area, have been in North Carolina. President Biden surveyed damage in Florida and Georgia Thursday.
FEMA teams are literally knocking on doors to register folks so they can receive assistance, to buy what they urgently need.
The president in Valdosta, Georgia. The devastating flooding in western North Carolina is leading to a new problem not seen in years. Swarms of yellow jackets. An entomologist tells NBC News the heavy rain and floodwaters caused by Helene have destroyed the insects' nests underground and in trees. North Carolina health officials are rushing large amounts of Benadryl and EpiPens to the mountains. Many have been stung by swarms of yellow jackets. Striking dock workers and management have reached an agreement preventing a prolonged strike. Strike began to crumble yesterday when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis began to take control of ports in that state to address the hurricane emergency there.
At my direction, the Florida will be deployed to critical ports affected to maintain order and, if possible, resume operations which would otherwise be shut down during this interruption.
Members of the International Longshoremen's Association and the management groups agreed to extend the expired contract until January 15. A budget airline may file for bankruptcy protection this morning, and that may impact your holiday flying, according to Fox's Carmen Roberts.
The Wall Street Journal reports Spirit Airlines.
People familiar with the matter say the budget carrier has been discussing possible restructuring for a Chapter 11 filing in the wake of its failed merger with JetBlue Airways. Spirit has been struggling with losses, declining revenue, and a large debt load. The Journal reports if Spirit Airlines decides to file, the timing would not be imminent. Carmen Roberts, Fox News.
This morning, news out of Nashville. Garth Brooks is denying accusations of sexual assault. A hair and makeup artist identifying herself only as Jane Roe claims the country music singer raped her in 2019 in Los Angeles in a hotel. Brooks had filed a lawsuit anonymously in an effort to try and stop the woman from publicly repeating the allegations. A Chicago police officer and teen boy are wounded after they both were shot by the same bullet on the south side. The firearm inadvertently went off, hitting both the teen and the officer. Both were sent to the hospital in good condition. And a Cook County judge issues a warning to embattled Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who appeared in court yesterday over illegal appointments she made for several positions in the village. The judge last week granted a temporary restraining order forbidding Henyard from making several appointments without consent of village trustees. Now, attorneys representing multiple trustees asked the judge to hold Henyard in contempt of court. The judge said no, but warned the mayor that he will if she fails to comply with future rulings. Blackhawks continue NHL preseason play against the Wild at the UC tonight. Thursday night football, Kirk Cousins comes up big, leading the Falcons to a 36-30 overtime win over the Buccaneers. Wild card baseball, Mets pull off a 4-2 comeback win over the Brewers to advance to the NLDS in Philadelphia. The news, a service of our friends at Waukegan Roofing. For commercial roofing, replace or repair, contact the company that has been replacing and repairing commercial roofs in Chicagoland since 1914 and shares your values. WaukeganRoofing.com. Emergencies, welcome. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka sees no nonsense from Trump.
They're going to move a lot of their manufacturing business to Mexico. I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States.
What other politician of any party would make a public statement like that?
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Exercise and a healthy diet can help, but that can be hard, especially as we start to get older. It's like the choice between taking the stairs or waiting for the elevator. Sometimes the easier option can be tempting. But just like choosing to take the stairs, you can choose to get a variety of 31 whole fruit and vegetable ingredients. Balance of Nature supplements are formulated from the best ingredients available, and it's as easy as taking 3 fruits and 3 veggies capsules every day. It's a small commitment, but it can help you feel your best. Start your journey with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom building trust for over 20 years.
Are your file cabinets stuffed with work orders, invoices, bills of lading, medical records, and or compliance papers? There's a solution to clear the clutter by converting your documents into accessible digital form with the help of IDT. They can scan your documents for you or provide you with the technology to transform your workspace with easy and innovative IoT smart connected scanning technology. IoT smart connected scanning not only captures your information, it connects your documents directly to your existing digital systems, ensuring seamless integration and immediate access. Plus, it works with your existing Microsoft Office 365 technology. Convert those physical files into secure, searchable, easy-to-find digital formats. Goodbye, paper chaos. Hello, streamlined, secure digital environment. Visit ready4idt.com. That's ready, the number 4idt.com. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Longing for thick, healthy, gorgeous hair? Say goodbye to shedding, thin, and dull hair, and hello to thick, healthy hair with Hair Volume from New Nordic.
6:40 on AM 560, The Answer. Let's check the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. A service of Norton 360. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Boost your password security with Norton 360. Weak passwords can be targets. That's why Password Manager is included in Norton 360 to help keep you safe. Get comprehensive protection and up to 58% off at norton.com/secure. 1 hour on your Kennedy commute, O'Hare into the Circle this morning. Inbound Ike jams up Wolf into the post office and 55, 390 into the OPO. Dan Ryan, 30 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Tri-State accident, left lane blocked. It's on the northbound side between 115th and 95th. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Showers in the area this morning. Clouds will break later, not as warm. High 72, clear and 57 overnight. Light rain overspreading the entire area. 60 at O'Hare, 68 at Midway, 58 in Aurora, 66 Lakefront. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and John Cass in for Amy J. John Cass, johncassnews.com. Got the Chicago Way podcast there, as well as his columns and the columns of his contributors. A postscript on our extended...
It's a good life to be away from the Chicago Tribune.
Well, that's the postscript I wanted to get to with
okay.
respect to our extended conversation about the Helene response. What storm? Yeah, that storm, Mr. President. The Tribune's coverage of this, Chicago Tribune, just in case anybody out there who canceled their subscription was having any recriminations. The front page story: climate change is here and now, with a picture of the devastation.
They're going to try to take advantage of this to push their leftist BS agenda, huh?
Because the depravity is boundless. The depravity of the D.C. press corps, their regional outposts in places like Chicago, all in service of Kamala Harris. And they are in service of Kamala Harris. I mean, it's obvious, but it's always nice for somebody on the inside to confirm it. James O'Keefe is still at his guerrilla journalism, doing undercover work, using the dating apps with his undercover reporters to snag leftists like this dink, who was a producer at MSNBC.
Honey trap, honeypot.
Yeah, right. You would think they would learn the lessons of an Eric Swalwell. MSNBC producer Basil Hamden and he produces some weekend show on MSNBC. Who cares? They're all the same. Saying this while sipping a bouncy little Cabernet on a date.
So do you feel like MSNBC is doing enough to help the Harris campaign?
I mean, they're doing all they can.
Meet Basil Hamden, a writer and producer for MSNBC's weekend show, Iman. Basil also reveals that, quote, what her message of the day is their MSNBC's message of the day.
What have they done to help the Harris campaign?
Amplify her message. What her message of the day is their message of the day.
Hamden revealed that MSNBC is the Democratic Party's mouthpiece and is doing anything to get Kamala elected. Hamden says this news network is indistinguishable from the Democratic Party.
So is MSNBC just like doing whatever it takes to get Kamala elected?
Yes. It hammers home the point that I'm making, that this news network is indistinguishable from the party.
Are they just the Democratic Party's mouthpiece?
Exactly.
MSNBC is the Democratic Party's mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Basil calls MSNBC viewers brainwashed and states that MSNBC made their viewers dumber over the years.
Viewers get mad at the guests or the hosts if the hosts were to criticize Democrats. They've made their viewers dumber over the years. I think brainwashing and dumbing down.
It's bad.
Aggressive.
I get it.
Helps Trump.
Helps Trump, yeah. I'm sure if they could
sane washing, huh?
I'm sure if they could get some dude to go out with Eric Zorn or Rick Pearson, they'd get the same undercover admissions from about the Tribune.
If they threw some 20-something intern out there that snatched some Tribune guy, they wouldn't be interested. That's the problem with sending comely females.
Oh, I said dude. That's what I said. If they sent some dude there. Yeah.
Some buff dude.
Yeah. I mean, it was like one of those Elmwood Park firefighters that Pete Silvestri likes so much. Something like that. Anyway.
Pete.
So I just a little parenthetical remark about media. Port workers. Hey, you're good to know you're a former
sailor, right?
Weren't you a member of the Guild?
I was part of. No, I was not. I was.
Oh.
I was in the. I was in the merchant service, and I loved every minute of it. I wanted to make it my career. It would have been when you're 19, having some money in your pocket, ports every month a different girl. It would be great. But then you turn 40, and it's not, I guess, as fun.
Yeah, but you never had to be a union man?
I've never been a union man.
Interesting.
All my life.
I've
been free.
The good news, bad news, good news, I guess. I mean, as long as it's not coming out of my pocketbook, but it kind of all does. Anyway, the dock workers, Harold Daggett's boys, they're back on the job.
I'll cripple you, Dan. What did he say?
He wanted a 77% wage increase from $39 to $69 an hour. He'll settle, it appears, reportedly, for a 62% wage increase over 6 years. Are you getting that at your job? Anyway, 62% over 6 years, and they'll push off negotiations of the details till after the first of the year.
What about AI to write stories? I mean, really, you want to save the newspapers? Do that. Have AI write stories. There was a guy who came up with this idea to save the Tribune, and the Tribune didn't want to save itself, so you can't do anything for stupid.
Well, here's the play. They've got an idea about preventing their planned obsolescence. They do the longshoremen I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
This is a good point. This has not been really pointed out. At least I haven't seen it until this Wall Street Journal review. There were 50,000 Longshoremen Association workers on strike, but there are only 25,000 port jobs. Well, how does that work? I'm so glad you asked. Only half the union's members have to show up for work. The rest are at home collecting what are called container royalties, term of art, quote unquote, container royalties negotiated in previous contracts to protect against job losses that result from innovation. So in about 5 years, when all the ports are automated, you're going to have 50,000 port workers sitting at home striking, I guess.
How's Mr. Daggett going to afford that beautiful mansion? What does he live in? It's like a palace. I saw it in
What do
the
you
New
mean?
York Post.
Container royalties.
Oh, man.
You work, you don't work. What's the difference? Everybody gets 140 grand a year. I guess the only thing is if you're sitting at home, maybe you don't get the overtime where you can bump your salary, your annual take home to 400,000. And I'm all for people making as much money as they can make.
Feather bedding.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about this.
Yep.
This is monopoly union power, and we know something about that in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a 2019-2020 report of the Waterfront Commission, New York Harbor, found, quote, the absolute control of the International Longshoremen's Association over hiring in the port for more than 60 years has not only led to a lack of diversity and inclusion, run that by Harold Daggett, lack of diversity and inclusion in waterfront employment, but also to the perpetuation of criminality and corruption. And we actually have an excerpt. Well, we have part of a conversation.
Let's hear it.
From longshoreman Terry Malloy talking about this very thing.
So what happens? He gets the title shot outdoors in a ballpark, and what do I get? A one-way ticket to Palookaville. You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody. Instead of a bum, which is what I am. Let's face it.
It's a sad story.
The director, Elia Kazan, lived in Anatolia and survived the Turkish massacres. He came to the United States. He made a beautiful film that you referenced, On the Waterfront, and many others. And Ed Harris and the communists at the Screen Actors Guild, when he was introduced for a Lifetime Award Oscar, they refused to applaud. Because they're communists, basically. Okay?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Little cinema fact.
I like that. You know who? Let's see. I mean,
Eva Marie Saint.
Oh, of course, yeah. Of course, you'd remember Eva Marie Saint from On the Waterfront.
Any teenage boy would remember that.
I was. I was gonna go. Do you remember who played Terry's brother?
The Illustrated Man, Rod Steiger.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very, very good. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Just checking. See, your credentials. Continuing back to
former film student. Yeah.
On the Waterfront. This is the Wall Street Journal's commentary. This is what happened when we're describing the container royalties and all of this business. This is what happens when unions are granted monopoly negotiating power that lets them extort outsized rents. The Longshoremen's Association is the sole union bargainer for East and Gulf Coast ports, and there's little non-union port competition. The union has a chokehold on commerce that gives it extraordinary leverage. And so, like the coal miners and railroad unions that shut down the British economy in the 70s, or the unions that paralyzed transportation in France today, when the longshoremen strike, they stop trade in goods and hurt millions of workers who earn far less than the members of the International Longshoremen's Association. Mr. Daggett was happy to put countless truck drivers, warehouse employees, retail clerks, and auto workers out of work so he and his connected members can buy another yacht. Zing! But that is how it works. That is how it works. So, all of this union right or wrong business, well, I'm not on board with that. I'm all for collective bargaining rights and true adversarial negotiation between labor and management like you have in the trades and the private sector. But for those of you who want to compare this to the electricians union negotiating a contract at McCormick Place or for their guys
riggers.
at McCormick
the
Place.
riggers.
I mean, it's this is not the same thing. The monopoly union power, but in a sense, in a different way, it is the same thing as Illinois. And you know why? Because we have a constitutional amendment that was supported by both parties. Emphasis, both parties, the super minority leaders in the House and the Senate, those would be the Republicans, John Curran and Tony McCumbee, were both co-sponsors of an amendment to formally cede control of Illinois to the government unions. That's what they did. So they do have monopoly power. And until and unless that changes, and until and unless you have a party in this state that is not part of the government party, really not even the government party, the government union party, that's the one party in the state, the government union party, then you're going to see exactly what you're seeing playing out. How different is what Harold Daggett is doing from what Stacey Davis Gates is doing and has done? And you could say the same thing about AFSCME and SEIU, generally speaking.
I'm not speaking of AFSCME and SEIU, but I will say that the average union wage has been squeezed by the Biden-Harris inflation, where people cannot purchase the groceries they need to feed their families and drive their car and buy the gas to get to and from the job site. Something's got to give.
Yeah, well, so a lot of, I mean, it's always about the union guys. I mean, I'm fine to have that conversation, but then the rest of the population outside of government that doesn't have any of these guaranteed benefits, doesn't have sponsors in the government that they finance to provide these backstops that are provided here, not to mention the guarantees, the future guarantees that are certainly not provided in the private sector nearly the same way.
I've never appreciated or liked very much organizations that would tell me you can only work so hard and you can only make so much. I wanted to make all of it. I wanted to make as much as I could. Let me work hard. I will make it. I don't care. But my sons are now union men. So I'm in a quandary. But for me,
well,
let me work as hard as I want and make as much as I want.
You can choose your own course, but
yeah.
the point is to say that there has to be some economic realities that are confronted, and there are many of these unions and union members that do not want to confront economic realities. By the way, just on the waterfront, do you remember the name of the union boss, the longshoreman's boss, the union boss on the waterfront, the Harold Daggett, if you will, on the waterfront? Remember what his character's name was?
Charlie, something like that. Charlie. Right?
No, that's the brother.
Oh, that I could have been a contender, Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay, the brother. No, what did Steiger play?
No. Steiger wasn't the boss. Steiger was the brother.
Oh, wait a second.
The name of the boss, the character name. It was very Dickensian.
Go on.
Johnny Friendly. Johnny Friendly. Because that's what we're supposed to think about them.
Lee J. Cobb?
I love the satire.
Was it Lee J. Cobb?
Look
it up.
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
Very good. Rick in Downers Grove.
Hey, good morning, Dan and John. Hey, I just happened to tune in. I was wondering, are you guys talking about the Longshoremen's Union or the Teachers Union? Because it sounded about the same thing.
Yeah.
And I got to think, with these public sector unions, I love it. I have to take a pay cut in the form of higher taxes so they can get a pay raise. And actually, that gets tiring after a while.
Yeah, not to mention that your home is not your home in Illinois. It's just collateral for some public sector workers' pension. Did you forget that? Anybody want to talk about that? No, of course they don't.
Well, thanks for that call, because now we got to change Stacey Davis Gates' name to Francine or Franny Friendly.
Ralph and Rantoul.
Hey, good morning, Dan and John. Hey, when I was, I finished my first year in engineering school, and I had a summer job at the steel mill. It was a closed shop. I was forced to join the Steelworkers Union.
Where?
All they did was take my money. But here's the lesson. I was a laborer. Every day I went and I cleaned up the same spills, the same conveyor belts leaking sand, the same hot metal shakeout areas with bulk equipment. And after a few weeks, I came home. I told my dad, who was a lifelong steel guy. He was a mechanical engineer, so he was an educated guy. Wasn't performing a labor function like I was at the time. I said, Dad, your company's going to go bankrupt. I'm doing the same things every day. The waste, the lack of productivity, they're destroying this place. It can't live this way. And when I hear that moron, that guy from Central Casting, from Longshoremen, talk about we don't want no innovation, no automation, no automation. We're crippling you. No automation. I'm thinking, you moron. Your productivity lags so far behind automated places like Singapore and other modern places. What a moron. They're destroying their own industry, and they're too stupid to realize it.
He doesn't know how to get out.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Ralph. Well,
they don't know how to
They
get
do know
out.
how to get out. Container royalties and trunks.
No,
That's how they know how to get out of it.
Once you had, like in the steel workers, once you had guys making 15 weeks a year vacation, you couldn't stop it.
Coming up at 7:07, we'll talk POTUS politics with John Hinderaker, including Trump's appearance at Butler tomorrow with Elon Musk in tow. It's reported. It is now 7 o'clock, AM 560 WIND.
It's been a week since Hurricane Helene first hit. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and it's up to 220 people dead. More still unaccounted for, and millions still in misery.
4 of our neighbors' homes actually washed away down the river, and it's just a disaster.
Andrew and Devin Freund are in Mountain Lake Island, North Carolina, and like many, have no electricity among the 700,000 power outages that remain.
There's major damage in this small area, and we just feel like we're being forgotten. Hardly anyone has flood insurance.
President Biden assessed damage in Florida and Georgia, pledging full federal assistance.
There's no Democrats or Republicans out here. It's what we do to make sure we restore the economy. Only Americans are here.
But former President Trump is critical of the response, telling Fox,
they've given over $1 billion to illegal migrants that came in, and now they have no money for North Carolina, for Georgia, for South Carolina, and Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida. I think that's a disgrace.
And he'll go to Georgia and North Carolina today. The head of Homeland Security insists FEMA has enough funding for Helene's recovery, but without more money from Congress, they won't have enough if another hurricane hits. Iran's supreme leader led Friday prayers for the first time since 2020, praising Tuesday's missile attack on Israel, saying they'll do it again if necessary. The barrage was in retaliation for the killing of Hezbollah's leader, and Israel keeps targeting the Iran-backed militants.
Israeli airstrikes continued in Beirut overnight. There are reports that Israel targeted a possible successor to Hassan Nasrallah. Neither the IDF nor Hezbollah have commented on that.
Fox's Nate Foy in Tel Aviv. Dock workers are back on the job this morning at ports from Maine to Texas, ending their 3-day walkout.
The strike is not good for anybody, but it had to be done because we deserve it.
He's in Brooklyn, New York. A tentative agreement gives him a 62% pay raise over 6 years, but that and other issues will continue to be negotiated. America's listening to Fox News.
Light rain showers, 60 degrees. That's 7:02 on AM 560, The Answer. And here are the top stories we're following on WIND Chicago. A Chicago police officer and teen boy are wounded. Both were shot by the same bullet on the south side. CPD Superintendent Larry Snelling.
They found the individual to be armed with a handgun. As those officers were attempting to recover the handgun from the waistband area in the front of this individual, the weapon inadvertently discharged.
Both were sent to the hospital in good condition. That incident remains under investigation. Illinois Democrats and government union dues are flowing out of the land of Lincoln and into presidential battleground states. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker followed the money last weekend to campaign in Arizona.
It is truly a battleground state, and if Democrats win in Arizona, from my perspective, there's almost no way that Republicans can win the presidency.
Maley Smith, Senior Director of Labor Policy and an attorney at the Illinois Policy Institute, says Illinois Democrats are promising to invest in swing states, and they're sending their money there.
You know, the problem with that is that some of that Democrat money was taken from union member dues. It's a myth that unions only use dues for politics when it's approved by an individual member. Government unions in Illinois can take union dues and use those dues for political purposes.
Smith says labor unions in Illinois have given more than $17 million to Democrat committees since 2010. Federal authorities have announced prison sentences in 2 human trafficking cases in Chicago's suburbs. But an anti-trafficking group says Illinois has a long way to go in areas of prevention and response to victims. Illinois received an F grade on Shared Hope International's report card for child and youth sex trafficking. Sydney McCoy of Shared Hope.
We're not looking at any type of regulation, internal policy, case law. We're not looking at implementation.
McCoy says Illinois can improve its grade if people recognize the signs of human trafficking. Chicago sports, Fighting Illini are off this weekend. Northwestern will take on number 23 Indiana tomorrow. Tonight, Blackhawks and Wild skate in the NHL preseason. Wildcard baseball, Mets over the Brewers 4-2. Pete Alonso with a game-winning home run. The Mets visit the Phillies tomorrow. The news, a service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Save 35% off your first preferred order with promo code Chicago. Order online at balanceofnature.com. Hurry, offer ends soon. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago, Saturday, November 2nd at the Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Sebastian Gorka, economist Stephen Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Overhead Door, healthinsurancementors.com, Trinity School of Natural Health, and by Blue Star Security.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
You know, the big wireless companies want you to overpay for data that you don't need, but you don't have to settle for that with Pure Talk. Well, you get to choose how much data that you actually want. And for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, unlimited text. You're going to get mobile hotspot, 5 gigs of data. Go with Pure Talk, and you get to choose how much data you actually want. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and if you do it now, you'll save an additional 50% off your first month from Pure Talk. Jerry Paget, the second enlisted in the U.S. Navy and deployed multiple times to Iraq and Afghanistan until Jerry was catastrophically injured in an improvised explosive device blast. Now, Jerry received a new smart home thanks to our friends at the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Now, the home is in the foundation's Let Us Do Good Village. It's in Florida, and Jerry now lives more independently thanks to the specially adaptive technologies. Commit to $11 a month, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a 70-year-old man. I'm not a young guy, and I'm an ex-athlete. Well, yeah, when I was taking it, I recognized that I was feeling better. You know what I'm saying? And just mentally knowing is important also.
I am a customer of you guys. I love your product. Love it, love it. Nothing but good things to say about your product. I love it. And as long as y'all are going to sell it, I'm going to take it as long as I can.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. In this update, a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over if you have medical PPO insurance. Find out how you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back at almostfreeteeth.com. The Kennedy at a solid hour, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange, and climbing a bit because of that ongoing rain. Inbound Ike, 1 hour, 390 to the old post office. Dan Ryan, 28 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Reagan I-88 jamming up and slow eastbound between Roosevelt and the Tri-State Merge. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
A shower in the area early this morning, otherwise clouds and sun today. Not as warm, a high 72. Clear tonight, low 57. Sunny, breezy for tomorrow, a little bit warmer, high 79. And then partly to mostly sunny, breezy on Sunday, the high 73. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Light rain in 60. Next news, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and John Cass of johncassnews.com in for Amy J this morning.
Hey, buddy.
You were making some noise about some anniversary you wanted to remark upon?
Yeah, it's the Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, True Love for 32 years anniversary. Let's go to, where did they like to go? Coco Pazzo, or where did they go? No, some Italian restaurant downtown. And they loved it, and it was, it's something for the View to ponder. Chew on.
What was the note? What was the note that they posted?
Let me see. Hold it. It's
You said they posted some note?
Yeah.
They renewed their vows or something?
They posted a note. Happy anniversary, Michelle Obama, says Barack. 32 years together, and I couldn't have asked for a better partner and friend to go through life with. And he's hugging her. I wish it was Tony Rezko.
I tried to hold it. I really did.
Where's Tony Rezko? He's not hugging him?
I feel a lot better, actually. That's great. Thank you for that.
Uh-huh.
Just checking in at the border. I know Eli Mayorkas is juggling a couple of matters right now. He's got FEMA, which is doing a bang-up job. As he reported 3 months ago, they stand ready and prepared for whatever may come this hurricane season.
FEMA is tremendously prepared. This is what we do. This is what they do. And the key here, Rebecca, is also to make sure that the communities who are potentially impacted are prepared as well. And it's not just hurricanes and wildfires, also extreme heat, which certainly some parts of the United States are already experiencing.
What you're seeing from FEMA right now, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, it's just FEMA doing what it does. It's just going to do what it does, baby.
Mayorkas is going to be riding up that mountain with a horse, maybe a Mustang, and whip y'all into shape like his Border Patrol agents whipped the poor Haitians trying to come across. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So he's got that base covered. And then, of course, they're doing bang-up work on border security, but for Donald Trump stopping bipartisan legislation that would have been historic and powerful and so on and so forth. This on some trouble. A new DHS Inspector General report, get ready for this, has found that CBP, ICE, and TSA did not fully assess risks associated with releasing non-citizens without identification into the United States and allowing them to travel on domestic flights. Oh, really? Boy, that's interesting. So the 600,000, 425,000 convicted criminals, another couple 100,000 facing criminal charges, 400 on the FBI terrorist watch list that we know of. You don't think a proper risk assessment was done before you just willy-nilly let them roam around the country?
Are you speaking
Get
about
on a plane?
The 20,000 rapists or the 15,000 murderers?
Yeah, Muckraker did this very interesting 20-minute report on the 325,000 missing children. There's so many cohorts of horribles here, not the kids, obviously, themselves, but what's happening. And this was interesting. They talked to a Border Patrol guy at McAllen Airport in Texas. Here's some more of what we know to be true, but it's always nice to get the confirmation.
Are a lot of the kids coming over here, are they trafficked or like what's the...
Some are. I'm not gonna lie to you. Some are.
Does that happen a lot that the kids come over here with a totally fake name?
It has.
Yeah?
I mean, there's no way for us to verify.
And so they come over here with a fake name and then they just come up with one. They just get a brand new identity. They could be anybody.
Have you seen the movie?
Sound of Freedom?
Yeah, Sound of Freedom.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Exactly like that. Shit happens.
You guys get the kids coming over here with the notes that are attached to them with the addresses, right? And a lot of times those addresses lead to like a sex trafficker or something, right? That's legit.
Yeah. There's a lot of shit that we can't tell.
What's the issue though? Why can't you guys talk on camera?
It's the policies that we have, the things that we can and can't say.
But why don't they want you talking on camera?
Politics.
Politics. What, like making the administration look bad? Or...
Yeah.
Damn.
Honestly, bro, I really wish there was more people like you.
Yeah.
Exposing this shit.
Yeah.
Because it sucks. It truly is a horrible thing.
Yeah.
It is a horrible thing. But me, I can't do that.
You could blow the whistle on it.
No, I can't.
You could, but you're going to lose your job.
Yeah, exactly.
John Hinderaker is the president of the Center of the American Experiment, contributor to Powerline, powerlineblog.com. He joins us now. John, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, glad to do it, Dan.
Another banner week for Department of Homeland Security and the Biden administration once they figured out which storm zone people are concerned about.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, there are so many scandals going on. I mean, one of the ones that's come to light is Mayorkas announced that they don't have enough money at FEMA for the hurricane system. Apparently, they've got enough to get through Hurricane Helene at the high level they're operating at. But then they're going to be out of dough, so they're going to have to ask for more. And, of course, a number of people have pointed out that they've spent something like, $680 billion on illegal immigrants, something like that. And so that, I think, explains why it is that FEMA is running out of money.
Well, right. But the large issue, too, and then I'll put this in the context of the debate, there's the photo op that Kamala did at the border. There's this announcement yesterday that the U.S. is not going to extend legal status for thousands of Venezuelan migrants under that special program they have for Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, and Venezuelan migrants. There's definitely a recognition, it seems, by Harris Walls and company that this is hurting them. But 30 days out, I mean, don't you think it's probably too late to change the perception around the country?
Well, I certainly hope so, Dan. I mean, the idea that they have suddenly gotten religion after all these years and now they care that their open border policy is destroying America. What they care about is winning the election. And I think pretty much everybody understands that.
Well, by the way, the number $1.4 billion over the last 2 fiscal years for illegals, that was the spend by FEMA. How did you think your native son there, Tim Walz, did, Field Marshal Tim, in the debate on Tuesday night?
Well, he was amazingly bad. I did not expect him to be good, but he was terrible. When the debate started, he looked like he was just terrified, and he was incoherent. For a while there, I thought he might actually flee the stage. So just in terms of impression, I mean, it was very poor. And J.D. Vance, of course, on the other hand, was terrific. Of the 4 people we've seen on the debate stage during this presidential election cycle. I thought Vance was easily the most coherent and, in my opinion, the most likable.
I've just read your latest piece, The Border Fiasco, Northern Edition, updated by John Hinderaker. And I'm wondering, what about the northern border, as you mentioned? What about the northern border? Where are the Iranian terrorists coming across?
You know, it's really interesting.
Sault Ste. Marie, or where are they coming?
Well, this analysis that has just been done that my post was about is actually about that eastern section of the border. We've had some local publicity here in Minnesota about illegals just walking across our border, you know, with Canada. When I was a kid, I remember Weekly Reader reporting with pride that the U.S.-Canadian border is the longest unguarded border in the world. Well, that's still true, but I think maybe we better start guarding it, because this analysis of that eastern segment of the border, upstate New York and so on, illegal crossings are up by something like 2,000%. 19,000 illegals were apprehended along that 200-mile border stretch in the last year from 97 different countries, right? So people from all over the world have figured out that it's even easier to get into the U.S. across the Canadian border than across the Mexican border.
Well, and that's, the area you're talking about is Vermont, New Hampshire, New York, and that number, 19,000, higher than the previous 17 fiscal years combined, just this fiscal year, 2024 fiscal year.
No, that's exactly right. 484 suspected terrorists included in that 19,000 from 97 countries. In my post, I included a beautiful picture of 4 guys from Bangladesh walking down a road in the snow. This is actually from last winter. They got their hands up. There's a light shining on them. And we all know the script here, right? I mean, I'm sure they were cold, and they're saying, where are these border guys? Come on, apprehend us. We got to get warm. And so all they got to do is, just like Mexico, all they have to do is say the magic word asylum, and boom, there you go. They're now legal per the Biden-Harris administration. They
get
a free phone.
Stuff. Right?
They get a free phone. And by the way, if they'll get a free airplane ride to someplace in the United States where they will be put up at a hotel.
North Carolina? They get to go to North Carolina for free barbecue for a week or something like that?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure they're about to go to North Carolina right now. They would probably choose a different destination. But by the way, if they come to Minnesota, they can go to college for free as well as getting free health care. So, you see this picture, they're standing there with their hands in the air, hallelujah, we've been apprehended.
Boy, that prose you just offered, 4 Bangladesh men with their hands up on a snowy evening. I mean, it was almost like a Robert Frost poem, stopping by the woods on a snowy evening as I illegally crossed into America. Boy, there's something there. I mean, keep working on it, John. I think there's a poet in you somewhere. We have Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania tomorrow. His triumphant return with Elon Musk in tow. It's reported. It feels to me, particularly after Tuesday night's debate, but also just structurally with the terrible, ineffective response to Hurricane Helene, this continuing problem with illegal border crossings and all the associated problems. It seems to me that momentum is on Trump's side here as we get into the last month of the campaign.
I think it is, Dan. I think it's going to be very close. I mean, the polls are unbelievably close. We've never seen anything like this. Every swing state, it's tied, or somebody's up by 1 or possibly 2. They're all within the margin of error. I guess what I think, Dan, is that at the end of the day, there's a lot of votes locked in on both sides, right? Most of the votes, I know how I'm going to vote. There's a lot of people on the left.
Yes.
But I think the people who are going to decide this election are people who are not that political, don't follow the news every day. Sometimes they vote, sometimes they don't. But this is a group of people that have been badly hurt by the inflation of the Biden-Harris administration, in many cases badly hurt by illegal immigration. And I don't think you can gaslight them. I don't think that I don't think they can convince these folks that prices really aren't significantly higher. I don't think they can convince them that illegal immigration is really okay. And I think at the end of the day, those are probably the voters that are going to swing the election.
When they start breaking, what will be the effect when people will they break before the election? I mean, in terms of polls, because I just want to relish the panic on the left.
Yeah, that would be great to see. Right. I don't know. Historically, if you look at the weekend before the election, the polls will move a little bit. There'll be a 2 or 3 point break as people make up their minds. And, the conventional wisdom is most late breakers break against the incumbent. And here, presumably, that's Kamala Harris, although the Democrats try to deny it. But again, this election is so close and the country is so polarized that I think that late break is going to be, relatively small.
I can't get my mind around this exactly because there are just not enough college grads to keep Kamala in this race. It really doesn't seem to me based on these underlying numbers. And I'm not just talking about Trump's lead among non-college degreed. I'm talking about he's got, in all the polling, double the support from black voters he had 4 years ago. Rui Teixeira, writing over at the Liberal Patriot, writing about the Democrats' Hispanic problem. Trump's down 14 points, but that represents a drop for Harris as compared to Biden of 22 points as compared to 2020. Among Hispanics under 35, Harris only leads Trump by 10. That's a 34-point drop from 4 years ago. Among Latino men under 50, Trump actually leads Harris by 9. So, I mean, if Trump is so significantly overperforming among blacks and Latinos, and he's increased his spread among non-college educated, which, by the way, is 60% of the electorate, I'm really starting to question some of this polling, and I'm not one who easily dismisses quality polls. It's just that the fundamentals don't really comport with the top line result.
Well, I hear what you're saying, Dan. I think the problem is there's a lot of people, particularly in the suburbs that typically are swing areas, who can't stand Donald Trump. I can tell you that's true where I live here in Minnesota. Yeah. There is a huge anti-Trump vote out there.
Well, we shall see. John, I'm sure we'll talk between now and then. John Hinderaker, President and Center of the American Experiment, contributor to Powerline, powerlineblog.com. John, thank you as always.
Great to be with you, Dan.
I also wanted to thank you, Mr. Hinderaker, for occasionally running articles from johncastnews.com on the most recommended list on Powerline. And I can't thank you enough for that. Thank you, sir.
All right. John Hinderaker joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a 70-year-old man. I'm not a young guy, and I'm an ex-athlete. Well, yeah, when I was taking it, I recognized that I was feeling better, you know what I'm saying? And just mentally knowing is important also.
I am a customer of you guys. I love your product. Love it, love it. Nothing but good things to say about your product. I love it. And as long as y'all are going to sell it, I'm going to take it as long as I can.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
It's Uncle Sam, and he wants some of your retirement money. Like it or not, you're going to owe taxes on your 401k. The good news is you may be able to reduce your tax bill with some strategic planning. Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions are here to help. You'll work together to craft a plan that's designed to help make sure you don't pay a penny more than you should. Taxes are historically low right now, and we all know they probably won't remain this low forever, so call Scott Tucker and the Scott Tucker Solutions team before this tax-saving opportunity is gone. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. It's time to preserve the retirement you deserve without giving more than necessary to your favorite uncle. Call Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions now to schedule your 401k tax review. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Firm does not give tax advice.
If you're a business owner, manager, HR director, anybody that needs to hire people and staff and you're in McHenry County, this is for you. How's it going? Do you have the people you need? How's the quality of your applications? How much time do you spend on staffing issues? It's a problem, isn't it? You've tried all the job postings, career sites, and nothing is working. Internet job postings just don't work anymore. Are you finally ready to do something that works? Contact Express Employment Professionals in Crystal Lake. It's working for their clients. Express Employment Professionals in Crystal Lake has people that they are placing. They find out what you need and get you those people. Better employees, less turnaround, just better results. Stop the madness. Make Express your staffing partner and get back to running the business and being a good capitalist. Express Employment Professionals for McHenry County. Go to expresshires.com. That's expresshires.com. Or call 815-788-8556. End the understaffed cycle.
Conveyors keep your products moving, but when they break down, it can cost your company time and money. If you need help with conveyors, call a company that has the expertise and capability to help.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. I've got over 40 years of personal experience in dealing with conveyors and their related parts. At Vans, we install and maintain all types of conveyors, including screw conveyors, belt conveyors, drag conveyors, and bucket elevators. And if you need related conveyor chutes, drives, guards, or dust collection, we can design and install all of these components for your conveyor system.
Vans uses only the best and safest union-trained mechanics insured at the highest levels to perform the job right. Call 833-VANS-IND to schedule your conveyor inspection today. That's 833-VANSIND. Visit them online at vansindustrial.com. That's VANSindustrial.com. Vans Industrial, working safe since 1964.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Durkin, founding partner of the Martech Group, a global market research firm based in Chicago since 1985 and a longtime customer of Signature Bank. When our business moved to our current Loop location, I recall seeing Mick O'Rourke and his two business partners, Brian Duncan and Kevin Vestuga, laying the foundation for Signature Bank. When Signature opened its doors in 2006, I was proud to move our accounts there and become a shareholder. Being in the consulting business, the Martech Group has a keen understanding of the value of relationships, trust, and attentiveness. Whether dealing with our U.S. practice or our international operations, Signature Bank is always there when we need them. That's why the Martech Group is proud to have Signature Bank as a valued business partner.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, at 7:37, we're going to do a little American Idol politics edition because we've got a new Kamala song from UK's version of the Partridge Family. And we have John Kahn joining us. He's a singer, songwriter, and Breitbart's Minister of Culture. He's got a new Trump song. If he can take a bullet, I can write a song. We'll hear from John Kahn at 7:37. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
7:32. Rain showers crossing the area, 60 degrees. But for many dock workers along the Gulf and East Coast, it's back to work after a strike that started earlier this week comes to an end.
Sources say that members of the international law and management groups have reached a tentative deal on wages. The dock workers will be back on the job at ports on Friday. According to the reports, the two sides are agreeing to extend the expired contract until January 15th. 50,000 union members working from Maine to Texas walked off the job early Tuesday morning. The strike had led to uncertainty about the movement of supplies as the nation heads into the holiday season. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Hurricane Helene, now the deadliest storm to hit the mainland U.S. since Hurricane Katrina. 215 deaths have been attributed to the storm. Hundreds remain missing. Volunteer Eric Robinson.
People tend to go to the fire stations and the churches initially when they don't know where else to go. And so it's great to have resources set there of like, here, man, we have water.
More than half of the deaths are in North Carolina, including over 70 in Buncombe County, which has been devastated by flooding. Meantime, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is signing an executive order there to make sure residents in Florida will be able to vote even if they have been displaced in areas most affected by Hurricane Helene.
Charlotte, Dixie, Hernando, Hillsborough, Lee, Levy, Madison, Manatee, Pasco, Pinellas, Sarasota, and Taylor. We are authorizing the supervisor of elections to make appropriate accommodations, just like was done after Hurricane Ian.
The Israeli military has been striking Hezbollah targets in Beirut overnight. President Biden says he would not support an attack on Iranian nuclear sites in retaliation for a recent Iranian missile attack. Former President Trump spoke with Fox in Saginaw, Michigan last night.
I mean, to make the statement, please leave their nuclear alone, I would tell you that that's not the right answer.
The president says leaders of the G7 believe Israel has a right to respond, but they should respond proportionally. Chicago police officer and a teen boy both wounded. They were shot by the same bullet on the south side. It happened as officers were conducting a stop yesterday of a 16-year-old in the 5600 block of South Shields when they attempted to grab a gun in the teen's waistband.
They found the individual to be armed with a handgun. As those officers were attempting to recover the handgun from the waistband area in the front of this individual, the weapon inadvertently discharged.
Both were sent to the hospital in good condition. That incident is now under investigation. The Blackhawks continue NHL preseason play tonight, skating against the Wild. Hawks coming in off a road loss to Minnesota. Thursday night football, Kirk Cousins came up big in primetime, leading the Falcons to a 36-30 overtime win over the Buccaneers. The news service a balance of nature fruits and veggies in a capsule. Save 35% off your first preferred order with promo code Chicago. Order online at balanceofnature.com. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35%. Hurry, offer ends soon. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher says the numbers don't lie.
Look, Trump is gaining everywhere. They don't want to tell you that in the mainstream media. Just look at the data, doesn't lie. Statistic after statistic tells you, I mean, look at the Daily Beast today. Oh no, this is a problem. Trump is making historic gains with Hispanics. We know that Trump has historic gains with black voters.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
I tell you, I get no respect. So I walk into a coin shop with silver bullion for sale when the owner says, "You look like you don't have two coins to rub together." I say to him, "Bullion." He orders me to quit cussing, tosses me out the door, and I land cheeks down on my 10-pound bullion bars. Ouch! My rear end is still black and blue.
You should have come to Fox Valley Coins, where we treat every customer with respect, buying or selling.
Whether you're liquidating a collection to pay the rent or trading unwanted collectible coins, currency, and bullion for extra folding money, Fox Valley Coins is happy to see you. We also pay top dollar for scrap gold and sterling at Fox Valley Coins, the Midwest's premier coin company. Open 6 days a week, one light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Check us out at foxvalleycoins.com. Over 40 years of family-owned integrity. That's foxvalleycoins.com.
I'd get my butt down there, but the doctor warned me to take it easy for a week. Oh.
If you maintain an industrial plant, you know your dust collection systems are a vital part of the operation of your plant. Without them, things can get dusty quick. And when your dust collection system malfunctions, the downtime can cost your plant money. Time to call the professionals at Vans Industrial for help.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, owner of Vans Industrial. At Vans, we work with many different types and sizes of dust collectors from 1,000 CFM to 100,000 CFM. If your system needs housing repair, tube sheet, pulse valves, ductwork, or collection hoods, give us a call. Schedule an inspection today to keep things running smoothly and avoid costly downtime. And when you're ready for a new dust collector, we can design your system from the collection hoods to the stat for plants of all size applications.
Vans uses only the best and safest union-trained mechanics insured at the highest level to perform the job right. Call 833-VANS-IND. That's 833-VANS-IND. Or on the web, vansindustrial.com.
Longing for thick, healthy, gorgeous hair? Say goodbye to shedding, thin, and dull hair, and hello to thick, healthy hair with Hair Volume from New Nordic.
7:39. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average. To get that smile back, check if you qualify, almostfreeteeth.com. The Kennedy accident, right shoulder inbound between Montrose and Armitage. Stop and go on the inbound Ike. 72 and climbing right now between 390 and the old post office. You're tough through the avenues, 25th all the way to Ogden. Dan Ryan, 34 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. They've cleaned up an earlier jackknife semi, an accident that was on westbound I-88's off-ramp to the northbound Veterans Memorial Toll Road, I-355. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Showers in the area this morning. Clouds break in the afternoon, not as warm, high 72. Currently cloudy at O'Hare, 60. Light rain at Midway, 63. Light rain in Aurora, Joliet, and heavy rain in Morris right now. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
I'm going to call Surf.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, John Cass. JohnCassNews.com is where you find his musings, the musings of his contributors, his Chicago Way podcast, and more. Lots of songs this campaign season.
Yeah.
Some original work, some parodies. You've heard them. I mean, but we have a couple of new offerings that I want to go over. But just a few examples of some of the highs and lows on both sides. You know, we try to be even-handed. Yes, of course. You know, you make your own decision about which sorts of music genres and lyrical offerings you're particular to. For example, let's start with Kamala, just to be sporting.
We're not going back.
Remember that one? That old classic, We're Not Going Back?
We're not going back, just
Like a tree that's planted near the water. We're not going back. Very folksy, you know.
Voting for our
You get it.
Is this where you get baptized in Kamala's waters?
It had a little bit of a revival feel
definitely.
to it. You had, who could forget?
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs.
I love this song.
They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs.
Everybody.
They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
People of Springfield, please don't eat my cats. Why would you do that? Eat something else. People of Springfield, please don't eat my dog. Here's a catalog of other things to eat.
They're eating the dog, you know.
It's so sad. So what a great song.
You have parody songs like...
Because that's not a parody. That's
original work.
Original work. Right.
It's, with some Trump sampling in there. Right. You've got the Borders Are parody, riffing off of OMC's So Bizarre.
From the wackos on the left to the magas on the right, they know I'm beating Kamala. This race won't even be tied. Her policies are nutso. She's out her goddamn mind. She just repeats the same thing, regurgitating her lines. She thinks that immigration without paperwork is good. Clearly not too much power underneath Kamala's hood. Borders are, it's what you are.
You've got some Spanish language offerings too, don't forget.
Let's hear it.
Kamala.
I have a great playlist. I have a playlist. It's
Kamala, Kamala eres, Kamala eres, Kamala. Kamala eres, Kamala eres, Kamala.
I feel like I need a margarita. Yeah, All right.
That is something.
I like it. That's very spicy. I like it. There is a new offering from this group. I guess this is some sort of reality TV group or something. They're called the Marsh Family. They're across the pond in merry old England. Very Partridge Family. If you see the video, I mean, it definitely will call to mind the Partridge Family. Gimme Hope Kamala is their submission.
When old Donald used to run the country, he subdivision tried to build a wall.
Nice voice.
He made a few of his people wealthy. Oh, he don't care about the rest at all.
He's got convictions, he did the nasty and undermined the Constitution.
This will be top 10.
He's an oppressor of civil liberties, megalomaniac Republican.
Oh, give me hope, Kamala. Hope, Kamala. Give me hope, Kamala, for the election. Give me hope, Kamala. Hope, Kamala. Hope for beating Donald.
Yeah.
Do they play that in North Carolina?
I don't know if that honky family can quite pull that song off.
Because I feel like loading bananas on a boat when I'm singing that.
There's a little bit of that to it. Although I was impressed by your interest in eating the dogs. I mean, you were starting to sing along. You don't normally get that from a John Cass.
I do. I had the white man overbite too.
That's very nice. So the final offering is a song in support of one Donald Trump. The songwriter and singer is a gentleman named John Kahn. The song is If He Can Take a Bullet, I Can Write a Song. And here's a little bit of that, to be fair.
I get back up. That's what I do. I didn't soldier on this far just to lose. So take your shot. Is that all you got? I'm a fighter. No one can say that I'm running harder. I was born to be a do-or-die. I'll make it right. Don't throw that towel just yet. Don't cash in.
Yeah, and John Kahn, singer, songwriter, scriptwriter, film director, and Breitbart's Minister of Culture. John Kahn joins us now. John, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
So I know which of those songs is your favorite. How's the song performing since you released it?
Well, the song has gone a little bit crazy. I'm sort of overwhelmed by the response. We hit the #1 Billboard digital sales charts this week.
Wow.
It's at the top of the iTunes charts today. Humbly, I can say President Trump put it on social media. It's actually called Fighter.
Right.
And so I'm just overwhelmed by the reception.
Have you, like Kifness, the eating the dogs guy, have you been contacted by like Munich or something to do a concert out there? It's funny how some of these songs in this political context take off, not just in terms of downloads, but in terms of, people wanting to see the artists in person.
Well, I haven't been contacted by Munich, but I wanted to thank you guys for putting that song embedded in my head again.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that one's pretty catchy, I got to say.
It's impressive. So the critical response has been good. I mean, is this your first foray into writing songs that have a particular political bent?
Pretty much so. Years and years ago, I wrote a song called American Heart, which was kind of my foray into this. And I had met Andrew Breitbart in Los Angeles, which, of course, is the belly of the beast. And I met him at like a conservative speakeasy, which was called Friends of Abe. And it was for entertainment people, whether it be actors, filmmakers, musicians, that were basically looking for fellowship in L.A. to talk about their beliefs and, without the fear of losing work. And so when I met Andrew, I ended up doing some writing for Breitbart in the early days, and out of those articles came a song called American Heart, which I played at all the tea parties. But that one and this one are the only two.
So you go back to the tea parties?
Yeah, that's when I met Andrew. It was right in 2008, and I had written this song that was kind of getting a little bit popular, and Andrew said it was the very beginning, the origins of the Tea Party, and Andrew was speaking, and he said, "Hey, do you want to go play a tea party?" I said, "What's a tea party?" He goes, "I don't know."
I don't know.
So,
Let's go find out.
It was like the first one in like Quincy, Illinois, and at that time I wasn't out of the conservative closet because I was working in LA at the time and had sat in a bunch of rooms and listened to these people I was working with say how awful guys like me were.
Right.
And so when I went and played with Andrew, I was wearing a hat and sunglasses and using a fake name, and ultimately came out of the conservative closet in the Wall Street Journal.
How difficult has it been to be a conservative in the performing industry?
Well, my life changed a little bit when Andrew passed. Well, it changed a lot, and I ended up wanting to carry on his mission. So I've got one foot in, and I go to Nashville and write songs frequently. And Nashville is different than LA because you can actually have a conversation with people who disagree, and it doesn't really hurt you. And LA is a little bit different. When I did that Wall Street Journal article, at that time I was writing with a Grammy Award-winning producer who I had spent years trying to work with. And he had produced Kelly Clarkson and Josh Groban and all these huge artists. And when the article came out, I never wrote a song with him again.
Oh,
so
he just cut you off, huh? You just got cut off.
Yeah, it was interesting. He kind of looked at me. I remember I saw him one time after the article came out, and he was so I remember his face, his expression. He looked at me and he was so bewildered that I could be this kind of person.
Right.
And he his eyebrows scrunched up, and he said, "I don't understand it. You're smart and funny." That really registered with me because it was the first time I realized how folks in LA view, our side.
There's no club for writers.
No.
When you write at your kitchen table or in the car. With the kids screaming in the back seat, you write alone. That's how it works.
Yeah, except in Nashville, sometimes you collaborate, which is a good thing as well.
Yeah. I know Nashville's different than LA as you were describing, but has it changed at all with? It's not it's sort of the usual suspects to some extent. I don't know how much Kid Rock broadens the acceptability of being a conservative music artist, but I mean, is it changing at all, or is it actually is it getting even more chippy because of just how intense the dislike of Trump is?
Yeah, I think people are pretty entrenched and dug in their own camps. I think the more people that hopefully come out and speak what they believe, that will change. But it's hard to see it changing anytime soon, because the minute somebody comes out with a decent product on the right, they get vilified, and they try to put them in the quote ghetto, so to speak, a conservative ghetto.
John Kahn, singer, songwriter, scriptwriter, film director, and Breitbart's Minister of Culture. As you heard, his song "Fighter" is topping the charts right now. Do check it out and download it. John, do you perform live as well?
I used to perform. I had a band back in the day and played a lot in L.A. and opened for Creed.
Oh, really?
At one point. And I have not played this song live yet. I'm supposed to play it next weekend at the America First Music Festival in Jupiter, Florida. So I'm looking forward to that.
Wonderful. John Kahn, the song is "Fighter." John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for the song, man.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $240. There are only two good things about aging: wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part, my guidance cost you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side, your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
Dan Proft here for Northridge Prep. Northridge Prep is a great place to be a boy. What does that mean exactly? Well, thanks to a foundation of an all-boys environment that builds your son up into a man of intellect and character who loves God. That's what happens at Northridge Prep. The teachers and faculty members become mentors to students. When you combine that with an atmosphere that's fun, competitive, and challenging, it creates an exceptional experience for your son. And the result is the boys love Northridge Prep. They've been educating boys for nearly 50 years. One of the things that stands out is their commitment to partnering with parents. You hear that a lot with schools, but at Northridge, the parents can't stop talking about it because it's authentic, and they built a community that really works together. Raising kids is difficult, and at Northridge, you can be confident your son is on the right path. They're having an open house on Sunday, October 20th for boys in grades 6 through 12. Again, grades 6 through 12 on October 20th. You can register for that open house at northridgeprep.org. Again, the open house is Sunday, October 20th. If you're interested, or interested on behalf of your son, register at northridgeprep.org.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Keene Jr. of the Mailhouse Inc., a family-owned and operated digital print mailhouse with a specialty in political advertising and a customer of Signature Bank. We knew that getting a loan to buy our business wouldn't be easy, so we turned to one of our trusted friends for a referral. She told us about the outstanding level of customer service her business received at Signature Bank since becoming one of their first customers in 2006. Today, we couldn't be happier. Not only did Signature help us finance the purchase of the mailhouse, but they supported our growth as we modernized our operations in mailing as well as from traditional to digital printing. If you're looking for a great bank to grow your business, take a look at Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Building owners, property managers, and chief engineers. This one's for you.
Hello, this is Bruce Diedrich with Waukegan Roofing, your professional roofer. Everything starts on top. Your investment, your building, and everything in it is protected by your roof. It needs to be in good shape. That's where we can help. If it needs to be repaired or replaced, or you think it might, call us. Let's find out. Here's the number.
847-623-1625.
At Waukegan Roofing, our employees are union-trained roofing professionals with OSHA safety training certifications and have thorough knowledge and expertise regarding the various roofing systems we sell, maintain, and install. We know commercial roofing systems because that's all we do. Over 110 years of doing commercial roofs. Waukegan Roofing has the slogan,
Roofs you can rely on.
Because you can. Here's the number to call.
847-623-1625.
And get the info at waukeganroofing.com. waukeganroofing.com.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, we'll talk over the September jobs numbers with our friend Jim Perry, founder CIO, Perry International Capital Partners, and all matters presidential economic policy offerings. That's at 8:08. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
A judge issues a warning to the embattled Dalton mayor, a former Kane County prosecutor charged with DUI, and the Bears getting set to host the Panthers, while collegiately Northwestern will host undefeated Indiana. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
You're hired. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A lot more Americans heard that last month with a surge in jobs created, 254,000.
The estimate was 140,000. The unemployment rate dropped to 4.1%. We were looking for the rate to actually stay steady from last month at 4.2%.
That's Fox Business Network Cheryl Casoni. August hiring was also revised higher. Dock workers back on their jobs this morning at ports from Maine to Texas, ending a walkout.
Now, the strike, which lasted 3 days, was being closely watched by many because many feared it was creating huge economic headaches for both businesses and consumers. The deal reached last night will mean wage increases of more than 60% over the next 6 years.
Fox's Mark Meredith. The deal isn't done. They'll keep negotiating other contract issues. It's up to at least 220 people dead a week after Hurricane Helene first hit, and there are still more than 700,000 power outages, Florida to Virginia. Fox Weather's Jane Menard has been visiting flood-devastated areas in North Carolina.
Many locals, especially in these rural western North Carolina towns, growing frustrated with the slow response from state and federal resources, many saying it was their neighbors that helped them survive over the last several days.
President Biden and Vice President Harris are vowing full federal assistance. She got an endorsement in Wisconsin from an anti-Trump Republican, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, calling the former president unfit to lead.
President Harris will be able to unite this nation.
Former President Trump reacted, telling Fox,
Liz Cheney is a stupid war hawk. All she wants to do is shoot missiles at people.
Tomorrow, he'll return to the scene of a crime.
He will be back in Butler, Pennsylvania, where he narrowly survived an assassination attempt. Security plans are much different than they were on July 13th. This time, the rally site will be locked down ahead of the event, and there will be a single command post for all law enforcement agencies.
Fox's Brooke Singman. America's listening to Fox.
8:02. Rain moving out of the area, but more could be on the way for the afternoon. 60 degrees. And here are our top stories. A Chicago police officer and teen boy wounded. Both were shot by the same bullet on the south side. CPD Superintendent Larry Snelling explains.
They found the individual to be armed with a handgun. As those officers were attempting to recover the handgun from the waistband area in the front of this individual, the weapon inadvertently discharged.
Both were sent to the hospital in good condition. The incident remains under investigation. Opponents of a Chinese battery plant located in the south suburbs are not letting up on their efforts to block the project in Manteno. Roundtable discussion was held yesterday. Congressman Darren LaHood says China should not be allowed to locate companies in the U.S. on the backs of taxpayers.
I don't say this to scare people, but China has a plan to replace the United States, and they're working at it every single day. They want to beat us militarily, economically, diplomatically, across the board.
A planned Goshen plant in Michigan also faces the same strong opposition. Cook County judge issuing a warning to embattled Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Henyard was in court yesterday over illegal appointments she made for several positions in the city. An attorney representing multiple trustees wanted Henyard held in contempt of court. Judge declined to do that, but warned the mayor he will if she fails to comply with his rulings. Chicago sports. Bears aim to get back above 500 when they host Carolina on Sunday. Collegiately, Northwestern goes for the upset when they host number 23 Indiana tomorrow. The Cats have not lost to Indiana at home since 1993. The news, a service of Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes, ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Wall Street will be reacting today to the September employment report. Shares of shipping companies are lower after the dock workers' strike ended with a partial agreement. Shipping company stocks rose during the strike with anticipation it would result in higher prices. Mueller-Maersk shares fell 6% in Europe this morning. The Wall Street Journal says Spirit Airlines is exploring a possible Chapter 11 bankruptcy restructuring. Spirit has been losing money dealing with debt and has been severely impacted by a recall of Pratt & Whitney engines. Waymo, the self-driving car unit of Alphabet's Google, will be adding Hyundai cars to its fleet. It will start testing the Ioniq 5 electric SUVs late next year. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago, Saturday, November 2nd at the Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Sebastian Gorka, economist Stephen Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by JeffBuysYourHouse.com, Papa Nicholas Coffee, the Alpha Wealth Group, Willows Academy, and by Senior Helpers of Naperville.
It's Dr. David Kolbaba.
Hey, let me tell you about our age analysis assessment. It takes just a few seconds to scan for those advanced glycated end products that cause premature aging. And then we'll briefly go over your results and give you a few things for you to do to improve. And then we'll retest you in about 60 days. And you'll pay our special low price for your first assessment, and I'll pay for your second one. That's right, your follow-up age analysis assessment is on me. And we're going to compare your biologic age with your chronologic age, and then we're going to help you determine if your biologic age is on par with your chronologic age. But you got to make that call today, not tomorrow, but today. It's our Health Quest radio hotline, 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. Second assessment free if you make that call right now, 800-794-1855. It's Health Quest radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a doctor myself. I've used it and I've turned a lot of my patients onto it as well. It's a good product.
I've actually taken the bottles up to him, and my doctor, he tells me keep doing it.
I am 87 years old, and I am an RN. My PhD work is in anatomy and physiology. I watched your advertisement on TV, and I thought I'll try it for just a month. I have stayed on it. Just think it is a marvelous product.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
You know, the big wireless companies want you to overpay for data that you don't need, but you don't have to settle for that with Pure Talk. Well, you get to choose how much data that you actually want. And for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, unlimited text. You're going to get mobile hotspot, 5 gigs of data. Go with Pure Talk, and you get to choose how much data you actually want. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and if you do it now, you'll save an additional 50% off your first month from Pure Talk. NYPD officer Jonathan Diller's tragic story made national headlines this year. Now, Jonathan was shot and killed by a career criminal during a traffic stop. Jonathan, who's just 31 years old, leaves behind his wife Stephanie and 1-year-old son Ryan. Now, nothing will ever replace the loss of a husband and a father, but the Tunnel to Towers Foundation was able to pay off the mortgage on the Diller family's home. Please commit to $11 a month. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
8:09, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. The Edens is actually calming down nicely right now. Inbound 16 into as you travel into the junction. Outbound 18. You'll hit the brakes at Niles Center Road. Kennedy inbound 1 hour. O'Hare into the Burn Circle interchange. You're on the brakes Montrose to Kimball. The Ike stop and go inbound through the avenues. Stevenson brake lights at Harlem Avenue all the way through Pulaski. 1 hour into Lakeshore Drive. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
A shower in the area early this morning, otherwise clouds and sun today. Not as warm, a high 72. Clear tonight, low 57. Sunny, breezy for tomorrow, a little bit warmer, high 79. And then partly to mostly sunny, breezy on Sunday, the high 73. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Gray skies and 60 degrees. Next news 8:30, Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and John Cass. JohnCassNews.com is in for Amy this morning. John, Kamala Harris was on a podcast recently with former NBAer Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes.
Were they smoking?
No, was smoking. What do you mean? I think she. Oh, you mean like Token?
Token.
Yeah, I mean I think she does that with Charlemagne the God in New York, but not with these two gentlemen. Steven Jackson was a very good NBA player, actually. Anyway, I digress. They were talking, or they asked her the same question that she was asked actually in the debate about, you got a plan to make things a little bit better for people struggling economically?
Going from a show to a whole entire company, what is your economic plan moving forward for people who are living paycheck to paycheck and struggling for groceries and rent and homeowners?
So, look, I grew up
in a middle-class household.
My sister and I were raised by our mother. We lived for a long time in an apartment on top of a child care center.
Uh-huh.
That child care center was actually owned by a woman who lived 2 doors down from us, Mrs. Shelton, who was
good old Mrs.
all
Shelton.
of our
Yeah,
accounts and feelings. Our
sounds like an
second
episode
mother.
of
She helped raise us.
227.
It was so middle-class
And she was a small
American that
business
she
owner.
said bonjour
So I
to
started the
everyone
small
she
business
knew.
Yeah. Anyway, she ultimately got to. She took about the same time and the same circuitous path to get to
Bonjour,
talking about
madame.
some child tax credits and the like. For more on the economics the economic offerings of the two presidential candidates, as well as that September jobs number. Oh, eye-popping, 254,000 jobs. I don't know if that's good news or bad news to Jay Powell. Jim Perry joins us, founder, CIO of Perry International Capital Partners. James, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning.
Are you still across the pond in England?
Yes, I am in Geneva, Switzerland.
Oh, you're in Geneva now. You're moving around.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's mountains here.
Yeah, I've heard.
What are we to make of the jobs number? Is it crushing? Is it the greatest jobs number? Or like other jobs numbers, will it be revised down?
Oh, you're such a, I don't know, skeptic or something. The job situation in the United States is a mess, always has been. Dan and I have talked about this a lot.
I've heard you.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics doesn't even know how many people in the country are working, let alone the number of people that got new jobs. So we take every one of these monthly numbers with a huge grain of salt and recognize that it'll be revised downward after the election probably. And the fact is that the number one driver of new jobs is the government.
So how does the street react to that number after a 50 basis point rate cut?
Well, I've been watching the market here since really sort of the Fed cut, and interest rates are going up really in the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, boy.
10-year treasuries are over 380 again. They were down to 360, so it's not a big move, but it's a message, right? And I think that the message from the markets, Dan, is that at least half the market believes that the Fed shouldn't have cut, right? I think that GDP is probably going to come in better than expected. And you and I have talked about this, right? Third quarter GDP, we were talking about this back in May and June. I figured it'd probably come in about 3% or more. And Q4 is usually a stronger GDP number than Q3 because of the Christmas selling season. So I think GDP is probably stronger than most people think. And I think inflation's higher than most people think. And I think Powell cut rates because he's deathly afraid that somehow there's going to be a recession and he's going to be responsible for it. And his legacy will be destroyed or something.
So inflation is higher than people think, and interest rates are higher than people think. But as long as Jay Powell is turning the dials in the direction that Wall Street wants, the markets will continue to perform productively, positively, and people will muddle through. That's the essential assessment.
You bet. That's the plan, man. I mean, the fact is that I've been talking to clients this week, and, money's been flowing into the United States really since the Fed started printing money en masse after the great financial crisis in 2010, and they've accelerated it since the pandemic. So global investors are not stupid. The dollar's been very strong because money flows into the United States from Latin America and from the Middle East and from Europe and from Asia remain very strong. And the reason they are is that the longer the Fed continues to provide liquidity to the financial system, that means that you're leveraging up the asset base of the United States economy. And there's very few regions in the world that are doing that as effectively as the United States.
The dollar's strong because we're devaluing our currency slower than other countries are devaluing theirs?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you look at all this stuff that's going on in China, I just saw this morning in the FT that debt to GDP in China is something like 383%. And the debt to GDP ratio in Japan is over 300%, right? Ours is 120. So, yeah, compared to what's going on in the money printing in Asia, we look darn right austere.
The proposals from both candidates, without going chapter and verse, what is the most attractive to you about what is being said by either of the candidates, and what is the most dangerous for free market capitalism and by extension economic opportunity and growth?
I'm glad you asked. So few people do. I think if you look at the two candidates and the election, if you are remotely an economic thinker, you have to think about growth and economic expansion, and that's going to happen under one candidate, and he's on the right. And on the left, you will expect, I would suspect, the continuation of the last 3.5 years, which is spend as much as you can as a government, expanding government services, and putting money into the least productive sector of the economy, which means that the stock market probably will do worse under the current administration if applied to the next 4 years. And if Trump can cut taxes at the corporate level, which I'm not sure he can, and I'm not sure that that's really going to help the budget deficit because, we brought in $5 trillion last year and spent $7 trillion, so there's a $2 trillion deficit. But of that $5 trillion that we brought in, only 10% of it is corporate taxes. So it really doesn't make much of a difference if you go from 21 to 15 or from 21 to 28. You're talking about a rounding number of a couple of tens of billions of dollars. But the fact is that corporations, if given a choice, it's like going to the gas station. If you see a gas station where gas is $4.20 and down around the block, around the corner, it's $3.90, where are you going to go, right? You're going to go to the lowest place. So I think that if taxes come down from 21% to 15% under Trump, more corporations will stay here, more jobs will be created, and the economy should do better.
What's your reaction to, both parties are essentially taking, mercantilist positions, both candidates are, with respect to trade. You had Trump a couple of weeks ago essentially threaten John Deere with tariffs if they move a production facility to Mexico, something he's done before. In addition to generally speaking, calling for tariffs across the board against imports in particular sectors, at least, or from particular countries, at least. And the Biden administration has been effectively on board with that, and Kamala wants to take it, one step further when it comes to those sorts of neo-mercantilist policies. So your reaction to that and how potentially damaging that approach could be?
The trade tariff story and global trade with respect to prices and inflation and growth is a lot more complicated than you hear on some of the news programs and on TV stations. But I think that if you can try to boil it down, I think the Trump tariffs against China have been extended under the Biden administration, so they recognize that they were probably a fairly decent idea. Now, the idea that they're going to make them worse is probably not going to happen because they're globalists and they want to kind of appease China and other countries around the world. But Trump has been blamed for thinking about raising taxes. That means that that's going to be a 20% tax on households because prices are going to go up. And that's a very lazy way to describe what's going on here. I think the Trump increase in tariffs against China are designed to do one thing, Dan, and that is to level the playing field against an economy that is aggressively waging economic warfare against the West, not only the U.S., but Russia or Europe as well. And the fact is, you've got a communist party that's subsidizing the entire Chinese manufacturing export machine, and Trump wants to give it a body blow.
But extending beyond China to places like Canada, when you slap tariffs on Canadian lumber, and then at the same time you're complaining about the median cost of a home.
Yeah, I think that's more sort of populist stuff than anything else, to be honest with you. I mean, Canada's our neighbor. It's the longest unsecured border on the planet, And the fact is, our number one import from Canada is crude oil from the shale oil fields of the Rockies. And the number one export to Canada from the United States is refined gasoline. So everything else is a mere, bag of shells. The fact is that Canada is a good country. The lumber situation isn't really going to affect the housing market in terms of prices. The thing that affects housing prices is regulation. I saw these guys in New Jersey were talking about trying to build new houses, And they said more than 50% of the cost of building a new home is regulation.
Yeah.
So quite honestly, the lumber issue is kind of a,
Well,
whatever.
just as an example of extending tariffs, maybe as you say, for populist political reasons, but not really for sound economic ones. So the other thing though with respect to Trump and Vance addressed this intermittently during the debate on Tuesday night, and it's energy policy. And once he got past being more concerned about solar panels being constructed in China versus the United States, as opposed to being concerned about $1.5 trillion Green New Deal crony capitalist gambit. Once he got past that and talked about energy production, I thought he was hitting the mark a little bit more squarely. And so my question to you is, in terms of getting past tax and regulatory policy, not to dismiss them, but in terms of what America can do to really rev up the engine here, is the domestic energy production, essentially doing just about a 180 reversal from the Biden years on energy production domestically. Is that the best thing Trump could do in terms of freeing an industry to help America become energy independent again?
Yes, I suppose you could argue that. And I think, again, it's kind of a populist sort of rallying point. But as was pointed out to me in an earlier message from a group of economists and more liberal-leaning investment managers here in Geneva, and it is true, that energy production in the States is actually slightly higher now than it was 3.5 years ago. Now, you don't hear that very much from the Republican side, but the fact is that it's still awfully expensive to transport things like natural gas around the country and to get regulations to drill and frack and drill in the Gulf of Mexico and things like that. And I would say from an economic standpoint, from a macroeconomic standpoint, the best thing that the Republican Party can do, Trump and J.D. Vance, is argue the case that if regulations go down in the oil and gas industry, the price of oil and gas will fall. And quite honestly, there is so much natural gas in the United States, we could probably power the economy for 100 years. But the fact is, it's still very expensive compared to the rest of the world. And I think if they keep pounding the story on deregulation and increased productions, my thought, Dan, isn't so much that the prices are where they are right now, but where they could be in another 18 months, right? What's wrong with a $2 a gallon of oil?
Well, that's what I mean.
Right.
Well, that's a yes.
One.
Well, but that's a yes.
Yeah, or one.
But that's a yes to unleash the productivity of America's energy sector.
100%. It reduces the cost of doing every single business, including delivering stone crabs to Joe's Stone Crab in Miami. Most of the prices of stone crabs have doubled because energy prices and wages. It's not about the good, it's about the service, right? So service prices around the country will fall with a more aggressive deregulatory oil and gas policy.
Well, and you're exactly right to point out the stone crab prices, because I'm much more concerned about that than gas, and I'm sick of paying top dollar for stone crab at Joe's. So I appreciate that.
$38 an order for a starter.
You don't have to
70 before.
You don't have to tell me.
Pandemic.
The people don't know the suffering that we endure, Jim. I mean,
it's a nightmare.
Exactly.
Just take the one claw and let it go back into the ocean, for God's sake.
Jim Perry, founder, CIO, Perry International Capital Partners. James, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Have a good weekend. Thanks, guys.
Adios.
See, the hills are alive with the sound of music. That's Salzburg, but he's in Geneva. But they could be alive in Geneva, too. Jim joined us on the Turnkey Depot Answer Line.
Opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a 70-year-old man. I'm not a young guy, and I'm an ex-athlete. Well, yeah, when I was taking it, I recognized that I was feeling better. You know what I'm saying? And just mentally knowing is important also.
I am a customer of you guys. I love your product. Love it, love it. nothing but good things to say about your product. I love it. And as long as y'all are going to sell it, I'm going to take it as long as I can.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call in now! Open mic Friday!
Yeah.
It is that time of the week, Open Mic Friday, taking your calls with comments, compliments, concerns, criticisms, general crack pottery. We'll take it all. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro text line. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro text line. On this special edition of Chicago's Morning Answer with John Cass and for Amy. And we begin, as we do, with David Kolsak, founder of turnkey.pro. David?
Well, good morning, John and
Hey,
Dan.
David.
I have to first say that I'm not shocked at how our government and how they don't, help our own people. It's a pattern, just like in Maui and East Palestine. The people of North Carolina have been left for dead. And the volunteers in the area have been turned away. I've heard that money that's been donated to local schools has been seized by FEMA because it's not being spent properly. And it's just unbelievable. What kind of a world is this? I saw one guy who had his own helicopter get shut down for trying to rescue people from the mountains. Story after story have been told about how little help the National Guard have been and how little financial support will be coming. You even mentioned this yesterday on your show, $750 per family from FEMA, right?
Yep.
We gave $200 billion to the Ukraine with a population of 38 million. That's $5,000 per person in the entire country. Our government hates us. The reason why this is so devastating is because this hurricane hit where hurricanes don't hit. From what I've observed in my life is that once a hurricane hits mountains like the Sierra Madres in Mexico, they slow down, they break up. This one sped up as it moved inland. How in the world does an area that's 300 miles from the coast at an elevation between 2,000 and 4,000 feet above sea level get hit by this kind of a storm? What gave it that energy, moisture, and direction? These people have never seen a storm like this, and they're certainly not insured for it. I feel horrible for them. There are dead people in trees after being swept away in the mud and the rain. What's more is that we've had the power to create, control, and steer hurricanes for decades. Project Cirrus was the first official attempt to modify a hurricane. It was run by GE in conjunction with the U.S. military. The official theory was that changing the temperature outside the eye wall of a hurricane by seeding the clouds with various materials such as silver iodide, a decrease in strong winds will result. So on October 14th in 1947, Project Cirrus targeted a hurricane headed out to sea. Approximately 180 pounds of dry ice was dropped into the clouds. The crew then reported a pronounced modification in the cloud deck, and the hurricane dramatically changed direction. The Category 4 hurricane, known as the Fort Lauderdale hurricane, made landfall in Savannah, Georgia, and caused significant damage. The public blamed the government. The government denied it for 12 years, and after a short delay after that, the project continued. In 1965, Project Storm Fury had targeted Hurricane Betsy proceeding. On that day, the storm immediately changed direction and made landfall in southern Florida. Congress blamed it on Project Storm Fury, but the government said that the hurricane had already changed course before they had time to seed it. So after 2 months of congressional hearings, back then, the project was allowed to continue. Now, remember, that was in the 60s. Think about how much more advanced they are today. In 1997, the U.S. Secretary of Defense, William Cohen, admitted that we had the technology to control the weather, including volcanoes and earthquakes. The government has placed gag orders on employees of the U.S. Weather Service as a result.
Okay.
This is all factual. Okay, so in October 2012.
Well, first of all, no, it's not factual, because the idea that flooding has never occurred in this region on a grand scale, on a catastrophic scale, that is not factual, actually. All you have to do is go to the Asheville Museum.
It happened like 50 years ago. But
all you have to do is go to the Asheville Museum of History, and you can read about the floods of both 1916 and 1940. So, no, it's not exactly factual. And, I mean, look, I'll let you speak your piece, but the idea that the government is controlling and directing hurricanes,
These are actual factual things.
Yeah,
William
okay.
Cohen said these things. These projects exist, and they've done things like, regardless, whether you believe we can control the weather or not. Let me just change subjects for a second, okay? So let's talk about the push to use alternative energies requiring more lithium, and according to the Geological Survey, you're going to hate this, Dan. The U.S. has over 6 million tons of identified lithium resources, and the majority of that's located in Kings Mountain, North Carolina. Kings Mountain has been said to be one of the largest resources of lithium in the world. The biggest problem is that people live there and they don't want their towns turned into lithium mines. So last year, the Department of Defense entered into a $90 million agreement with a company called Albemarle to increase domestic production of lithium, specifically to get that material from Kings Mountain. Kings Mountain is in the same area where these biblical floods that have happened 3 times now, according to you, while the federal government spends billions of dollars on foreign wars and illegal immigrants, they simply can't be bothered with the health and welfare of their own people. You can agree with that, especially when they're living on a mineral-rich land. So you've got the fire chief of Lake Lure threatening to arrest people for rescuing stranded hurricane victims, the government being, as usual, late to respond and light on resources, and a real possibility, anyway, that the whole weather event was caused by the government itself. It's quite possibly a deadly false flag. Blame this all on climate change.
So this is a fifth column action by the federal government that they set off Hurricane Helene to swamp Georgia and North Carolina to prevent Trump Republicans from voting. Is that it? Because by the way, I mean, just
blame it on climate change.
Of course they do blame. Of course they do blame it on climate change. But one conspiracy theory does not beget another. Does not make another legitimate. By the way, Bill Cohen was when he talked about the ability to alter the climate, he was talking about eco-terrorism. He was talking about the type of eco-terrorism where you set off earthquakes, volcanoes remotely through the use of EMG strikes. But he wasn't talking about it sort of as the federal government has the ability to do this, manipulating the weather. He's talking about using a weapon. He's using about using a weapon of war. And so you're saying they're using weapons of war to set off weather systems.
Their own people. I am saying that. I am saying that.
Yeah. Well, you're saying that without. I mean, yeah, right. Of course, everything under the sun is possible, but I mean that is completely evidence free. But go ahead.
But crisis after crisis coming in quick succession, you can't rule out the possibility that Hurricane Helene was created and steered to create it, just like they did in Maui. You don't believe that either. But keep people out of the zone, refuse to help the victims, and ultimately declare their land uninhabitable and make way for a new purpose. It's a lot cheaper than acquiring the land through traditional purchase.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool, though, Dan?
I guess the question is if you believe that the ruling class is full of these uber competent Bond villain level geniuses, or if you believe it's mostly a bunch of incompetent boobs with too many advanced degrees.
Well, either way, it's horrible, right? Wouldn't it be cool if the government resources could have been used to help people, right? Isn't that a novel idea? I mean,
of course. Nobody. That's a straw man. Nobody's arguing anything other than that. The question, but the question of competence or evil genius is a big question. That actually does matter. I guess you could say it's bad either way. But in terms of diagnosing the problem, it sort of does matter what you understand to be the fundamental problem with our elected representatives and a bunch of our appointed representatives in the bureaucracy too.
Well, I'm certain I don't understand why even we pay taxes. I mean, honestly, if you can give all that money to other places and you can't take care of your own people, I mean, think about it. If they actually could weather modification, if they could do it, if they could do that, why wouldn't they just extinguish forest fires with spontaneous rainstorms? And how about using the armed forces to help our people instead of a foreign nation, or provide free housing and food to those who have lost their homes in this hurricane instead of spending it on illegal immigrants? We clearly have been taken over from people who hate us. They say FEMA has no money for the hurricane victims because it's settling illegal immigrants. Again, it's clear that humanity is going to have to rise up to help each other when we're in trouble. There are great people in Western North Carolina who are there to help, genuinely to help. Guys with horses, mules, chainsaws, and skid steers, and ATVs, and even helicopters. Look at Elon Musk handing out Starlinks, and Biden claiming that he did it, and Trump bringing in supplies. Now, if the government would just get out of the way and let people do the work, the people are simply more qualified to handle the situation, and that's the point I was trying to make.
All right. Thanks very much, David. Appreciate it.
I want to drive up to that mountain and grab a pickup truck full of that ore and sell it.
Oh, the ore, O-R-E.
Yeah,
that
O-R-E.
ore. Yeah. Glenn in Orlando.
Hi, guys. Very frustrating to see how our government is behaving. It's I hope everybody votes, but I keep thinking about Dante's Divine Comedy, and on the gates of hell, the inscription is "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here."
Mm-hmm.
I think we have the gates of hell in various cities in this country, and you abandon all hope. It's just seems to be a growing thing going on in this country.
What's the motto in Chicago, at the gates of Chicago?
Well, I've long said that Dante's, you should take the Inferno and put that at the corporate boundary of Cook County, or maybe now the state of Illinois.
Don't get raggedy, Dan. Don't get raggedy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that could be Chicago's new motto.
Yeah.
The Chicago's new motto is, that's raggedy. I don't do raggedy. We don't do raggedy. That's not bad. It's great on a T-shirt. It's right there.
Love it.
That's going to go well on a T-shirt, and so is this. What storm are you talking about? Maybe they can put those T-shirts on the bodies of the dead.
What do the states in the storm zone need, Mr. President?
Okay.
What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone?
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about.
Don't know what storm you're talking about. Robert Lyle.
Yeah, hi. On a lighter note, I was the minority in a gas station yesterday, and there was a young guy in there, and he says, "I'm not paying $4 for a bottle of water. No way." And he was, the whole place was, I said to the guy, I said, "Look, I just won $21 on the Powerball." I said, "I'll buy you a bottle of water." And he goes, "Oh, no. I said, "Well," I said, "do you vote?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, maybe you get cheaper water if you vote for the right person." And his whole place right away just got on Trump. And they said, "Yeah, we're voting for Trump. We're voting for Trump." Really, when you take these voting polls, people are not going to tell you who they're going to vote for because everything's so polarized. But it was just funny, and it shows you that I'm in a place where, I'm the minority, and everybody's going to be voting for Trump because they know what's coming down the line.
Thanks for the call, Robert. Mike in Green Bay.
Hey, guys. I know you guys don't have any real competitive statewide races this year, given the fact that you're in a one-party state. But up here we have a very competitive Senate race between Eric Hovde and Tammy Baldwin, and it got off to a very bad start for Hovde because he was facing a lot of negative ads. He was letting the other side basically define him, and he does have a lot of problems. He is a California businessman who's been out there for many years.
He's coming on, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but and the thing is, he has said some kind of snotty things in the past. He comes off as sort of a Thurston Howell III type businessman, Republican. He's kind of part of the Scott Walker, Paul Ryan faction, which I think is part of a bygone era. He just doesn't communicate with the working class very well. He's kind of boring. And he was down double-digit points a few months ago to Baldwin, and Trump's been outperforming him in the polls the whole time. But recently, he has closed a gap, I'd say, over the last month or two. And the last poll I saw from Trafalgar had him down only 2 points to Tammy Baldwin. Now, Dan, you talk about Kamala Harris being a cipher all the time. Well, so is Tammy Baldwin. She'll toe the party line on social issues, abortion, LGBT stuff, but she also tries to pander to Trump voters. She's for tariffs, she's for clamping down on illegal immigration, yada, yada. Even though she doesn't have a voting record to support it, she's totally party line. But I just wanted to get your guys' opinions because Hovde, to my surprising credit, has closed the gap. He seems to be running a much better campaign, and I just wanted to ask you guys, do you think he can actually close the deal and what he needs to do in these final weeks to try to get over the finish line?
Thanks for the call, Mike. Appreciate it. Yeah, I've been watching the Hovde race actually quite closely, and we mentioned it when we had Scott Walker on and Ron Johnson on. We're efforting to get Hovde on as well. I think he can win. I mean, I think, he's got to stay close or perhaps even outperform. I mean, it's that close. Trump narrowly. I mean, I think the race is a dead heat. And so this is, why so many Illinois Republicans have nothing to do here. It's not just statewide. They have nothing to do here, generally speaking, because there is no Republican Party here. Going up to Wisconsin to walk precincts, to serve as poll watcher, stuff like that is all great because it matters. And it reminds me very much of Ron Johnson, who was seemingly down in his reelection 2 years ago and then, pushed it through at the end. I think, the story with Hovde is sort of the same story with Trump. I think these races, statewide races in particular, have essentially been nationalized. And where we're at is who can turn out, who can extend their lead among their base voters. So for Trump, for example, non-college degreed working class, particularly in Wisconsin, and outside of Milwaukee and Dane counties, who can run up the spread and then turn out the base. I think that's really the difference for both Trump and Hovde in Wisconsin, with a race that's goes back and forth within 1 percentage point. So no, and that it would be a pleasant surprise. And if he wins and Hovde wins Wisconsin, if they both win, then
I'm drinking champagne if that happens.
Well, it probably means it's an electoral blowout for Trump, and it means that you're looking probably at a 3 to 5 seat majority for Republicans in the Senate. So it would be good news. Wisconsin is a great bellwether. David, LaGrange Park.
Yeah, Dan and John, remember about 6-8 months ago when Sound of Freedom came out and that there were shenanigans at selected movie theaters around the country where the sound didn't work, the movie didn't start, the air conditioning was broken? Well, John, I'm sure you've seen some movies at the Quarry over in Hotchkiss. Mm-hmm. They had one showing of Am I a Racist at 5:45, and I get there at 5:30, and I'm the first one there, and 20 people came to see the movie. No movie poster, no previews, lights stayed up. It became 5:45, no movie, and then people started walking out and complaining, saying, what the hell happened? Oh, we're working out, there's a problem. And then they said, oh, it's not going to show. We got our money back. And another chance that magically a movie didn't start. And I called AMC's corporate headquarters in Kansas City, and they're not happy about it. And it appears that some selected theaters decide that they want to screw around with the people that come in and watch the movies.
Well, I'm sorry that happened.
Thanks, David.
I would just offer an alternative. A double feature movie, Idiocracy and Ridicule. Idiocracy and Ridicule.
Those are both good recommendations, but you were telling me you did see Am I a Racist?
Yes, I did.
And?
I wasn't really that. I wanted it to be better than it was. So I didn't want to say anything to you, David, because I didn't want to knock it down, but I was hoping it would be better, and it wasn't.
I might recommend Terrifier 3. And
What's that?
Well, it's obviously a horror movie, and only because of the warning that is set forth at the beginning of the movie. The movie Terrifier 3. The warning is, it's more than just your scenes may be violent, disturbing. It's if you are feeling unwell, please find a member of staff. This film contains extreme violence and excessive gore. If you're feeling, it's like a public health
really
warning. If you're feeling unwell,
so do not
seek medical help immediately.
And if you have any knives on your person, turning them over to staff would be a first thing.
Well, right? I don't know about any of that, but that's intriguing to me as somebody who appreciates the horror genre and is not afraid of gore. Per this, a recommendation for you if you do like gore.
I used to be afraid of demonic possession of souls, but as we got older in this century, I started realizing that Americans really didn't give a rat's butt about souls. So.
Midnight Meat Train. if you want to see some gore. But maybe Terrifier 3 beats it. I don't know. I've turned Amy on to Midnight Meat Train. I think she enjoyed it. No, I don't think she did. But, in the horror genre, just since I'm on the topic, I used your recommendations as a tangent.
Uh-huh.
Do you like Nick Cage?
Yes, I do.
Did you see the movie Pig?
No, I did not. I know I should, but I didn't.
So the premise is he is a chef.
Truffle pig.
And he has a truffle pig, and it gets taken, and he wants his truffle pig back.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that's one. So you could do a two-nighter. You could do the Idiocracy and Ridicule John Cass recommendations, and then you could do like a little Nick Cage festival. And I would say two of his more recent offerings, Pig, and the other one is a horror movie where he plays a serial killer that goes by the handle Longlegs. And it's actually really well done, and he is, over the top as Nick Cage can be, but it's good.
Does he have a fake voice, like a strange voice? I can't take it when he does the voice thing.
A little bit. You're gonna have to see it. Right. Matt in Oak Lawn.
Hey, good morning, guys. John, I was at the doctor recently, and I said to the beautiful young lady, I bet you like John Cash. She goes, I love him. I bet you know who I'm talking about. But different from that. So I was up in, if you want the hypocrisy of the week, I was up in Saugatuck, Michigan over the weekend, and on not every single, but most of the houses have Harris signs. They also have signs that say, vote against short-term Airbnbs. Right? And I get that.
I
wouldn't want me renting your
consistent.
place for a couple of days either, but, anyways, that was my hypocrisy of the week award. Have a great weekend.
Well, thanks for the call, but that is sort of actually consistent because they're Harris voters who want to control other people's property.
Who's the beautiful girl? That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I sort of lost that. Jim in the Grange.
Hey, good morning, John and Dan. I want to say a final goodbye to Pete Rose, Charlie Hustle.
Oh, yeah.
He's Charlie Hustle in my mind. And when I was 12, 13 years old in 75, 76, I used to beg my dad to take me to Cubs games at Wrigley Field to watch the Reds pound the Cubs. And there was nothing better than to watch the Big Red Machine in action.
Yeah.
And, to this day, you can still name, Rose, Concepcion, Morgan, Perez, Bench, Foster, Geronimo, and the original Ken Griffey.
How about Dave Parker?
Oh yeah, going and seeing the Pirates was great too. Dave Parker, the Snake, right? And Willie Snargel, and Ian.
Yeah, the We Are Family team. The thing I like Dave Parker is he was a great hitter, but I also liked him because he wore a Star of David chain, and somebody once asked him, "Are you Jewish?" And he said, "No, I'm a star named David."
Love it.
Harkening back to the old days of baseball, though, miss those days. It was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
In the barber chair at Stanley's Barber Shop, 55th in California, I got my brush cut, my crew cut with the red wax stick, sticking the hair up straight, watching Pete Rose on television. It was so great.
I mentioned this to Amy the other day.
She liked the red stick? The red wax
No,
stick?
not your haircut from the 50s. I mentioned Charlie Hustle.
Oh yeah.
You know where that comes from? You know where he got the moniker Charlie Hustle?
Because he ran to first base?
No, it was a pejorative. It was Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford
they're
making fun of him because he was working too hard in spring training. It's like, look at Charlie Hustle over there.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, Pete Rose on Stuart Varney.
I think it's Trump. Go on. Don't slide headfirst into me.
I'm a Donald Trump guy. I know my publisher ain't, but I am. I mean, he's doing good for the country. I mean, he's outspoken.
Is he your kind of guy?
Yeah, he's my kind of guy. I used to know him when I played for the Phillies in Atlantic City. He was there every night.
And what was he like then?
He's a great guy. I had a meeting one time at Trump Tower trying to get him in the racehorse business with me and Dwayne Lucas and another guy named Wayne Lister. Then he got caught on the ski slopes with Marla Maples or something, and that put him into all that stuff. That was long ago, though. That was long before he was thinking about presidency. Yeah. But he was always a down-to-earth guy. I mean, just, I wish he'd stay off that damn the tweets. I mean, it's getting him in trouble.
No.
Well, you know,
that people.
He's like me.
That.
Donald. I guess I'm older than Donald, so I guess he's like me in this respect. That all through my career, I always answered every question that was asked me. And sometimes you're better off not answering every question.
True.
And the worst thing in the world, the last thing in the world you want to do is call Donald Trump a name. Okay, Pocahontas, he'll come up with a name for you, okay?
Don't do it.
Okay. So, I can't wait.
I love Pete Rose. I love Pete
That
Rose.
is great.
And by the way, I love the fact that he get in a horse racing business. He refers to D. Wayne Lucas as Dwayne Lucas.
Yeah.
It's D. Period.
Hey, D. Wayne.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, boy. Kevin, the Prime Minister out of Ogden Dunes,
Hey,
Indiana.
neighbor.
Yeah. Irish PM.
Perspicacious Dan and St. John of Indiana cast, you two boys are wrong. And ironically, Kamala, her vice P pick, and the Governor J.B. Lizzo on the left are absolutely right. Society cannot allow unfettered, unregulated, free inquiry. Speech that's off the leash can easily go off the rails and veer off in any direction. This is not only dangerous, we should have a Surgeon General's warning, but so-called free speech can in reality be very expensive. Mr. and misinformation should be holstered. Only those who've been elected have proper training for concealed carry of the mouth. That's nothing new. Ever since the Supreme Court ruled that John Cass's Greeks could force Socrates to drink that hemlock, people were prevented from screaming theater in a crowded, raggedy fire. The point is, ideas cannot be allowed to walk around loose and defecate anywhere they want. What is this, San Francisco? Now, just to show that I can be bought, there's a little show tune commissioned by none other than Elon Musk,
Oh, boy.
performed posthumously by my cousin from County Bastard. Give me speech, lots of speech from that Twitter that I love. Don't vote her in. Let me ride with some pride without bullets from above. Don't vote her in. Let us keep the Bill of Rights and our speech guarantees and not become the land of gulag detainees. They sue us while they tax us. Next, they'll break our knees. Don't vote her in.
Bingo.
That's pretty good. A little pitchy on the high note, but very good otherwise, PM and cousin. Thanks very much for that ditty. Very musical show today, going through all of the offerings of the last several weeks, including from our friend from Breitbart there, John Kahn, with the fighter song.
And spoken like the true Irish Prime Minister he is, he's shutting down speech. That's good.
Yeah. Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, good morning. Golf Clan, they're an 8,000 paramilitary group, and they're shadowing the illegals coming into Central America, busting from Costa Rica to Mexico. So hopefully that'll take notice.
Okay,
from
thanks.
the government.
Thanks for the call. We got a bunch of, too, that citizen journalist, if you will, that Ben Burkham guy. He was coming back from the rally last weekend in Wisconsin. He stopped by a Holiday Inn in Cicero. Did you see that? No. And I tried to get in there, but you can't get into this Holiday Inn near on Cicero near Midway Airport. It's still technically under construction, but apparently it's full of people in this country illegally and on our tab.
Brand new Holiday Inn on Cicero, south of Midway. You gotta go that way. It was empty last time. Can you go through here? Oh, okay. We're trying to get a room. Okay, to the other side? Okay, thanks. ¿De dónde son? Venezuela? Okay. So we got a family there, Venezuela. So the whole place, brand new Holiday Inn, filled up with illegals.
They're not coming in.
No. What's that? Can't come in. No, it's not. It's a platinum member. That may be so, but this one is under construction. It's not taking none. You got to go to the one that's over there behind the Dollar Tree. It's not open to the public. I'm sorry.
So, okay, so we are confirmed. I can't get a room at the Holiday Inn.
I need y'all to take that.
Can't get a room at the Holiday Inn because it's full of illegals.
No room at the inn near Midway. David Lansing.
Good morning. I just want to announce to everyone, I've voted 20 times and I've taken a picture of my ballot every time. Almost got arrested twice, but I'm an expert on this. In Illinois, you can legally photograph or videotape your own ballot. Pull up Illinois Compiled Statutes 10 ILCS 5/ and read the whole thing. In the whole code, none of the words picture, photo, photograph, or camera appear along with the word ballot. And the word camera only appears once in the whole election code.
Okay, I mean, I'll take your interpretation of state statute as given, but the point of taking a picture of your ballot is to show how bad the choices are in Illinois, or what?
It's to have a record of your ballot in case your ballot disappears, because apparently election judges and the whole system doesn't want to tally the ballots correctly. And I had an equipment manager in Lansing, Illinois at a church. I was taking pictures of the voting machine where the time was wrong, and it said no vote when I put my ballot in. This is back in like 08. Tried to break my camera, and I got surrounded by election judges that were pushing me around, calling the cops on me. They almost got me arrested.
Back in the good old days in Lansing, yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Thanks for the call, David. Appreciate it. Close it out.
He's a neighbor.
Weekend
last
festivities.
caller should open carry. They wouldn't push him around.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
Sunday,
okay.
big deal Sunday at 1 o'clock, Doosterbeck's Brewery, D-Light Duo. Dawn and Dan will be over there, and a lot of dancing. Really good beer. You guys take a ride up. Have a good day.
All right, thanks for the call, Chuck. D-Light Duo this weekend up near Truckville. John Cass, JohnCassNews.com. Thank you for sitting in for Amy. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. We need subscribers at John Cass News, so come on. Join us.
JohnCassNews.com. Have a good weekend. Now we turn over to Mike Scott.